like to call to order the meeting for the Culpeper County Planning Commission, our November meeting. Welcome all of you here this evening, and we want to make sure that you understand that the heating here is free. Okay, so it's cold on the outside, and we're glad to have this opportunity actually to come together as a community. The first order of business this evening is approval of the agenda that we have before us. Any additions or deletions? If so, if not, Chair entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed likewise. All right, our agenda is approved. Second on the agenda is approval of the minutes from our October the 9th and October the 16th meetings. We received those. What's your pleasure?
Move to accept.
Okay, second?
Second.
And we don't have to vote on that. Those will be put to record. Now we'll move to our new business.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
We have case Z40324-5. It's a request by Ahmad Sadeh of Sadeh Financial LLC to amend proffers previously tendered by Centex Homes with original acceptance date of January 18th, 2005, and last amended and approved on November 6, 2019 by Sadeh Financial on property currently zoned PUD, Plan Unit Development, known as Stonehaven Village, previously known as Clevenger's Village. The proffer amendment seeks primarily to change the layout, setback, massing, and timing of the already approved commercial and employment uses, among other minor changes to the most recently accepted proffer statement. The property is located off 229 Rixeyville Road and 211 Lee Highway in the Jefferson Magisterial District. It's found on Tax Map 8, parcels 1 and 1B.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. We'll go ahead and get started. The case map is shown on the screen there before you. The area of this plan unit development known as Stonehaven Village is well underway. We have about almost 300 homes out there today. No existing commercial, just some infrastructure for the commercial ready to go if and when that happens soon. The applicant is seeking to amend the proffer. The same applicant was before you in 2019 and successfully amended the proffers then as well. And tonight they're seeking to get a recommendation from the Planning Commission to amend those further. In a nutshell, it boils down to a few different things that the applicant is seeking to do or to amend at this point in 2024. There's laid out a red line document that the applicant submitted. That's the actual proffer statement, the recommended or suggested changes that they're after tonight. Staff produced a staff report, made some recommendations and some considerations for the Planning Commission as well. The agencies reviewed the normal reviewing agencies reviewed the application as well and weighed in and produced a few comments as well, which the applicant has responded to each and one of those. Those responses were also posted as part of your board docs package as well for consideration tonight. And Mr. Chairman, the applicant does have a presentation that he'd like to go through to explain the intent behind these proffer amendment so that he's seeking tonight. Staff's just going to highlight our understanding of what the applicant is seeking to do. The village core would now be referred to as a village center commercial. That's proffer 2.3. There is a new monetary proffer of 25 cents per square foot on the commercial retail space that is built. That is not in the proffer today. Minor wording changes to the amount of commercial square footage to be completed by 291, but a little more significant change for when it gets to 491, which would be a less commercial area that they are required to do under the proffer statement today. It goes from 108,000, I believe, down to 55,000 square feet. Removal of proffered second story residential uses, and there again, that was in the planned original village core area. A decrease of 12 units basically there. A reduction of setbacks from Route 211 after a reservation of right-of-way of 22 feet. There would still be a setback of 35 feet. Removal of two-story wording, basically a commercial area there to allow for one-story or one story with massing, basically large front buildings, and replacing the Main Street sketch plan with a Village Center commercial concept plan. Those are the main changes that the applicant is seeking to make tonight. Staff does not have any major objections to those, as you saw in the staff report. We did have some concerns, especially about the setback initially, as it relates to Route 211 specifically. And the applicant did produce an exhibit after the initial staff report that does show the reservation, and which would allow for expansion of 211 if and when that's needed in the future, or other road improvements as well. There is still concern about, that moving forward, but with a 35-foot setback, additional 22 feet of reservation for future right-of-way, plus the existing right-of-way that exists today, we believe that the road projects in the future couldn't be accommodated without going into the planned commercial area, as the applicant is proposing tonight. There are some wording changes or modifications, that were mentioned in the narrative, and that was a point of contention, or not contention, but confusion rather. And the applicant is going to speak to that tonight and try to clarify that. Staff did draw concern to that in the staff report as well. Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to entertain any questions. Obviously, we have a fair amount of people that want to speak as well tonight, or at least participate in some way. So I would recommend that we go ahead and let the applicant do their presentation and maybe hold questions till after that. So.
Okay. The applicant, come forth and give your full name for the record, please.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor,
Oh, yes, hold on one second.
Mr. Chairman, I share that I have a conflict of interest with regard to this current agenda item. I'm employed by Bowman Consulting, the applicant's engineering firm, which did the plans included in the application. Having a conflict of interest, I must abstain from sitting with the commission, engaging in any discussion, and voting upon this matter.
Okay, sir. Let that be put to the record. There are a few seats over on this section if you'd like to cross over now.
Sorry.
No problem. We haven't started that yet.
You don't have this on your. No, that doesn't show on my screen. I'm locked. I can't control it.
Sir, you can walk around now before we get started. There's some on this side. Few.
It's not making anything.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm
Try
scared
that.
to do that. Unplug it?
There it is. Holdable. That's right.
I think you got it.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry about that.
No
Sorry
problem.
about that. Good evening,
evening.
ladies and gentlemen of the Planning Commission. Appreciate the opportunity to address you tonight. In 2018, my family bought the Clevenger Village from then defunct Syntax Homes. The project was plagued with all kinds of problems. We re-engineered it, we did changes to the layout, and now it ended up being a beautiful community with homes being built. These homes need services. The services will come from the commercial center, which we have already started, as we have promised. Back, if you recall, when I was before you in 2019, I did say we will start the commercial center as soon as possible. It started in line with the residential, and we are not taking our foot off the pedal. We've prepared a presentation, but before I get into the presentation, I want to just briefly dispel some rumors that's been floating around about data centers and so on and so forth. I can emphatically tell you without a doubt, there is no data centers proposed. We're not planning on data centers. We are going to comply with the proffer ordinance, including the newly adopted proffer, newly adopted PUD ordinance that's just been accepted and put into law by the Board of Supervisors this past September, which clearly restricts data center without having to come before the board and before the Planning Commission seeking conditional permit. We understand that. The changes made in the PUD is also, September changes were beneficial to us. And it just so happened that our filing of our narrative statement took place before the PUD ordinance was adopted. So this list of waivers that you see in the narrative statement is no longer applicable. And that's why we did not incorporate that in our proffer statement. So they just simply go away. So I want to make sure this is clear to everyone. With that, we can get started. I prepared a quick presentation that some of you may have seen some of the items on it. This is an introduction to who we are. We're a family-owned business in Prince William County, Woodbridge, our location. We focus on projects in Culpeper, Stafford, Prince William, Fairfax, Loudoun, and we've been in business since 1990. We are only developing the commercial and the employment parcels. We have nothing to do with the residential part. We sold that off to Lennar, and Lennar is developing that, and they're building houses. They're doing the land development, and they're doing the houses on their own. So they're not associated with us, other than the fact that there's cross-cooperation in terms of roadway construction and stormwater management facility construction, that we're cooperating with them because it benefits the commercial site as well as the residential site. We are keenly focused on our environmental footprint. Our 2019 proffer amendment changed the entire layout of Clevenger Village to stay away from steep slopes. We saved close to, I don't remember the exact number, we saved a few acres of wetlands and quite a bit of stream disturbance. We stayed off of that by doing the layout again. So that's something we're proud of. Since the history of our company, we've always been an advocate for small businesses, and you will see in some of the developments we did, it is geared towards small businesses. Why are we doing this proffer amendment now? We want to, the current proffers as they exist today, the 2019, the commercial site was proffered much like it was proffered when Centex owned the project. When Centex owned the project, they had they had a major one of those supermarkets, 80,000 square foot supermarket, laid with the back of that supermarket facing 211, and the front of it facing what is now called Isabel Boulevard. So our approach to it is different. We thought it really needs to be reoriented so it'll be facing 211, and instead of people traveling on 211 seeing tractor trailers and trash dumpsters and the like, servicing the big box store, we changed it to where we have the whole, and you will see it in a second, it's facing 211, and it has a nice window for traffic that's coming in on 211 and 229. So this is basically what we're trying to do. We are also removing the residential component, which consists of the 12 apartments. We are not residential builders, and it's really odd to have apartments in a commercial center. We cannot raise interest by apartment builders who will be interested in building 12 apartments simply because there are no amenities. There are no swimming pool, or 12 apartments will not pay for such amenities. We are removing 12 townhouse sites that's shown in the 2019 amended land use plan from the employment portion of the project. And we are proposing instead a hotel site, which we think will do really well at that corner. We are asking for 35 feet after right-of-way reservation of 22 foot that Sam spoke about. Currently, and we will see once we get to the exhibit on slide 24, currently we have sufficient land to accommodate an addition of 3 lanes by the time we implement this setback. We will have about 127 feet away from the road, and that will be demonstrated by Exhibit A. We are also adjusting the absorption of the retail square footage to basically what we're asking for is a longer runway to deliver the 144,000 square feet of commercial retail. We're not asking to cut back on the 144,000 square feet. We don't want that. This is how we're going to make our money. But the proffers from 2005 and 2019 mandates a certain number of square feet to be built by a trigger of home constructed, and that is that's 491. Unfortunately, with the market conditions the way it is, the absorption is just not there. We cannot raise enough interest from small inline shops to accommodate this square footage required by the proffer. So all we're asking for is give us a little bit of more time. That's all we're asking for. We're going to deliver on the 144,000 square feet. This is the project as it exists today. What you see where the white truck is, this is Isabel Boulevard extended. Right there is Stonehaven Avenue. This is the grocery store pad site. This is retail building B, and this is retail building A. This building stick right now is with the county for permitting. The building department is reviewing these plans right now. And we have quite a bit of interest from local entrepreneurs, you know, your nail salon, the hair salon, a dentist. They're all interested in signing up and going in there. So our focus in developing this project sort of shifted. Instead of going with a large box that requires a lot of rooftops, to focusing on the smaller entrepreneurs local, and then build the project from the back forward instead of bringing an anchor store and bring around and then build around the anchor store. Unfortunately, with the advent of COVID, a lot of large block stores are just not interested in building anymore. And we will see some articles that I clipped from, I've been collecting articles that sort of speak to that. This is the Village Center commercial that we plan to build. The building on my right is what we call Building A. That is right now sitting in permitting with the county, is being reviewed. And once it's approved, it's going to go to construction. The building next to it, that's Building B, and the grocery store is going to be right next to it. Now, the reason why we haven't designed the grocery store ourselves, because that comes as a pre-packaged by the grocery store operator, like a Lidl. We have interest from Lidl, we have interest from Aldi, and hopefully we're talking to other operators. But we're not raising interest from big box stores like Safeway or Giant or Harris Teeter. We just simply don't have enough rooftops to accommodate their needs, and they're not going to make the investment with the number of, even at ultimate build-out, they're not willing to make the investment. So we shifted toward the smaller grocery store, much like what you see at Lidl. And we have a relationship with Lidl, and hopefully we can make that happen with them. In the center right there, there's the Village Square amenity for community use. This is gonna be where the gathering of the community, there'll be like Sunday, Saturday gathering. There'll be like a place for a band maybe to play music, to generate interest in the center. We're designing it to be, it doesn't really show well here, but it's a very nice facility. It's really well done. The buildings look gorgeous. I mean, the architect we hired to do this project did a phenomenal job. This is another view of the project, and it shows the quality of construction, the architectural styling. We're not going with something cheap. We're going with something attractive. We understand that we're not only serving our community at Stonehaven or Clevenger's, we're also serving hopefully Rappahannock, and we're also hoping to, actually we are having businesses, believe it or not, call us on building A, and they are Warrenton businesses, and they want to relocate here and open another shop here in our building. So we're trying to build a center that's attractive, that doesn't look cheapish, that will showcase the community and for all of our benefits. This is some active projects that we have done in the past. I thought I'd bring it up because it showcases our focus on small entrepreneurs. These are small box offices. They're both in Prince William County. The one on my right is 1,000 square foot, and that's been fully occupied since we built it. The other one on the other side is 1,500 square foot. It's also been fully occupied. So there's demand for small entrepreneurs that they don't need 3,000, 4,000 square feet. This is a project that we have started working on, and it has Lidl in it. This building, oops. This building here, last time when I made presentation,
Ahmad,
yes.
if you talking to that mic, we'll catch you. That red dot will show up on all the screens there. So
Oh,
you're
this will
good.
show here and there?
Yes,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah.
Okay. This building was in the planning stage when we met last time in 2019. Now it's fully occupied. This is the type of construction we do. This is all steel construction, which is pretty much what the two buildings will be at this project here. The one building in the bottom just got signed up with to be a mini hospital with Innova. This is also a variety of other projects that we've done, and they're all architecturally attractive. We don't build things that we're not proud of, that we don't keep in our family. They stay in our family for ages. This is what the industrial parcel is going to look like. This building right here, sorry, I keep pushing the wrong button. This building right here is permitted and is going to be built in Gainesville. This is an office flex warehouse, and it has a glass elevation in front, and the back is roll-up doors where contractors can keep their stuff inside. They're built to about 32 foot high, and even a little bit higher than that, 36 foot sometimes, and they seem to be tall. And the reason for that, a lot of jurisdiction does not allow you to stockpile and store outside. So they want to have all their equipment and storage and supplies inside the warehouse on shelves. So that's why the concept of tall buildings as you see here and there. That's other one is a two-story building with offices on top and warehouse in the back. The pandemic. As we all know, the pandemic had a tremendous impact on the entire nation and the commercial development and retail business. The pandemic reshaped consumer behavior. It disrupted supply chain and business operation and caused a major shift toward e-commerce. I'm sure you're all aware that the success of Amazon and all these, even grocery stores now, they'll encourage you to order online. And this is really what retail, commercial projects are struggling with. And you'll see from the upcoming articles that there's tremendous vacancy, there's a lot of default, there's conversion of projects that's going from what it was, a commercial center to residential. We're not asking for that. We're not interested in that. But that's the byproduct of the COVID-19. And as you can read here for yourself, there's a decrease in foot traffic and sales, significant revenue loss, and we have experienced that in our own projects. We had to give our tenants a break on rent, and we also suffered the same as they have. So we had to really, because of the advent of COVID and the change in consumer behavior, we had to adapt to the current market conditions, and we changed our focus to having, adapt to a slower absorption rate. And that's actually happening because, we can't get banks these days are not issuing loans to businesses. The interest rates, as we all know, up in the commercial loans are like 7.5. Some of them are 8%. That's holding back a lot of businesses from operating. So we're having to be flexible in that, offer small spaces, and like I said earlier, build the project from the small tenants outward toward the inline, toward the pad sites along 211. We are very much committed to the 144,000 square feet of retail space. We are not walking away from that. We're not asking the county or anybody to reduce the number of square feet. This is how we're going to make our money. All we're asking for is a longer runway to be able to land the project properly and safely. I've been collecting articles, the impact of COVID. A lot of these things are recent, and you're going to see a whole bunch of them, and I apologize, I don't want to bore you, but I started collecting these articles in preparation for the Planning Commission presentation and the board's presentation. And you can see lending is being tightened. DC area economic outlook is shifting to unstable. Greater Washington economic outlook still frozen. Commercial real estate, I mean, you can read it for yourself. Part of struggling Sterling Shopping Center sells for townhouse development. So there's been a lot of conversion. Here you go, there's big lots, 46 stores are closing. Red Lobster is closing 23 stores. And these articles are just recent. They're like maybe a couple of months old. So if you go to any of these retailers and tell them, hey, not necessarily them, retailers, national retailers are very, very, very cautious with their investment right now. They're looking for big populations. They're looking for great traffic count on the road. And unfortunately for us, we don't have neither one. We don't have, we have 16,000 vehicles a day on 211, and 8,000 on 229. The minimum demand by these guys is 23,000 to 25,000. Even 23,000, they won't even talk to you. Landmark Mall, I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but it's going through townhouse development. Same thing in Herndon. Innova healthcare system, that is actually our building. That's the building that had Stratford University in it, that went out of business on us. And then we were blessed and lucky enough to get that mini hospital to build there. To take it, to lease it. Walgreens closing 1,200 stores. Here's an article about a grocery chain that's filing bankruptcy. And if you read, the grocery store sector has faced several challenges since COVID-19 pandemic. And this article is October 9, 2024. I mean, what the hell? Yeah, right here. There's the date right here. So that's a very recent article. But you can read for yourself where, you know, the COVID pandemic, although it's over, and we're all excited that it's over, we're not wearing masks, or we're not keeping social distancing, the impact of it is still felt in the retail business. Here's another one. Fair Oaks Mall, and this is, we believe this one is in Prince William County, although the article is quiet about it. And this is, notice the date, December 11, 23, April 12, 24. So these are recent articles. Similar. This is a national, the bottom one is national. This is an interesting graph. My son put that together. The 2008 recession was somewhere here. So we started recovering. This is the vacancy rate. It started to drop. We went to 10%. We're like really excited about that. But something didn't happen with the big box retailers start closing because of it's a delayed effect of the recession, if you will. And then COVID hit, and look what happened with the vacancy rate. It shot up, and then the government started giving us all kinds of money to spend, and then it dropped again, and then now it went back up again because that money dried up. And this is what they're forecasting. This is, by the way, the source of it is CoStar. CoStar is a major website in the area that tracks commercial developments and tracks rentals and the absorption of rental property, I should say. This is what we're proffering. This is the proffer area. You'll notice from your package the 2000 and the 2005 and 2019 proffers had a large 80,000 square foot building that sat right here. And we'll see it here in a second as we scroll through the slides. And the back of the store was facing 211. And we said that, well, that concept doesn't work. You know, so that's why we went with building A, building B, and the grocery store right here. And that is still will be built. Right here, this site right here, we have very high interest from Wawa, and they're waiting to see the outcome of this proffer amendment to be able to sign up with us. We're competing with another site in Fauquier County. We developed this new multi-tenant building right here that also has drive-through. All these buildings have drive-through. This one, and this guy right here, and over here, all drive-throughs. Why? Because that is something we're seeing huge interest in by consumers. They want to have a pickup lane or, drive-through lane. So we've designed our buildings to have these drive-through. Now, this building is interesting because this is what we call a multi-tenant building. Why are we doing a multi-tenant building instead of one single asset building? Reason for that is a lot of these people that we're talking to, like a national coffee shop, we like your site, we are willing to go in and build a store, but we don't want to build the building. If you would build the building for us, and if we'll have drive-through, we will sign up. We're hearing that repeatedly from a lot of our potential users. So these multi-tenant buildings, so these two buildings right here are designed specifically for that purpose. For those end users that don't want to build the building because they don't want to commit the investment. We said, okay, we'll take the risk. We'll build that building for you. You just come and lease it, or if you want to buy it, we'll condo it and you can buy it. But we'll take that risk. So this is another innovation we came up with to encourage end users to come in and join us in our project. This is the park and ride. It's being relocated from here to there. This is designed right now, and it's ready for submittal. This is a car wash. This is the hotel site. This used to be a townhouse. 16 townhouses sat here under the old LUP, land use plan. We're not townhouse builders, so we want to have a hotel. This right here is the employment parcel. And I want to talk about that a little bit, just to put to rest this data center issue once and for all. You all have seen data center plans, right? Data centers are not employee-driven. They're not consumer-driven. They're boxes with computers in them, and they probably have 10 employees working there. If you look at these buildings right here, I keep pushing the wrong button, sorry. If you look at these buildings right here, notice the parking around these buildings. There's 210,000 square feet that were proffered back in 2005, reconfirmed in our proffer amendment in 2019, and today it hasn't changed. We plan to build 210,000. The good news over here, we don't have a deadline on that. In fact, this site's already been cleared, and my son Christopher feels that warehouses will do well, and we're hopeful. So the parking that you see right there, I counted them, is 450 parking spaces. Data centers don't need 450 parking spaces. Ladies and gentlemen, these are warehouses for business operators, for the plumber, for the cabinet maker. Anybody that needs a roll-up door will have it right there. We own all this parcel right here that goes all the way down to the welder shop and to the Rappahannock. So I keep shaking it thinking that the light will come on. It's not a nervous habit. It's just I think I'm used to my other pointer. There's a wetland thing right here that we're not permitted to touch. So that's why you don't see any layouts or anything like that this far out. We're stopping right here. But this is the story with this part of the world right here. It'll never be data centers based on this layout. Number two, we believe firmly that we fall under the amended PUD, which you all and the board just approved in September. the PUD ordinance clearly states, and I brought it with me here, that if you're gonna do data centers within the technology zone or outside the technology zone, you have to have a conditional permit. That means I have to come in front of you and sell you on the idea. And then I have to go in front of the board and sell them on the idea. And all these good folks will have their opportunity to say, hell no. But we're fine with it because we're not doing data centers. We don't have any plans for data centers. This is a 2019 proffered layout. And I want to point to this building. You'll notice where the loading dock is in the back. The whole site was oriented facing inward. So again, as you have seen from our layout, we got it turned around. This is the setback. The setback under the 2019 is 178 feet, okay, from 211. Based on our application today, this is what it's going to look like. What you see in blue is, and mind you, please pay attention to the number of lanes in 211, which is one more than what exists today, because that's the traffic study that was approved. So if you look at, this is the edge of the road right here. This is the existing right-of-way in blue. The reason why the right-of-way is so far off the edge of the road is because this used to be a huge slope. And the easement and the right-of-way would have to go down to the toe of the slope. So that's why you have such an enlarged right-of-way. And I believe back then with the prior owners, the park and ride sits right here. So the back then owner granted VDOT the right-of-way they needed to put the park and ride right here. And the park and ride comes to the edge of the right-of-way. I mean, literally, the edge of the park and ride is the edge of the right-of-way. So right on its own, there's plenty of land to add a lane or two. So here we come under the 2005 and 2019 proffer statement. The green line that you see right here is additional right-of-way reservation of 22 feet, okay? So not only do we have a large existing right-of-way, we are proffered to give additional 22 feet. We're keeping that for future growth. Who knows? Maybe 211 will become a 6-lane highway bigger than I-66. There's right-of-way for it. The red line that you see right here is the setback we're asking for. People think, oh, he's asking for 35 foot from the road. That's crazy. No, we are so far off the road. And this is where our retailers are getting hung up on. So as it is, you're too far off the road. We want to be close. We want people on 211 to see us and do business with us. You can't have us at a 200 foot in the back. So this here demonstrates with these lines exactly what we're trying to do. We've actually calculated the distance from the setback to 211. It's about 120, on the average. It varies between 118 and 130 something. It averages about 127 feet of additional land spared for the expansion of 211. So we're not encroaching on any future expansion of 211. You've seen this one. This is again the industrial area. There's few things I want to touch on. This is the end of our presentation. Thank you for allowing me to show you the information. I just want to go back, and I made some notes to bring up. Outdoor lighting is an issue. We've received a lot of calls from advocates for dark sky. We understand that, and we're honoring it. All of our lighting will comply with Article 32 of the zoning ordinance, or we'll even go further than that by saying that our lighting will comply with Dark Sky International Association guideline. Our engineers understand that, and they're doing that as we speak with the design of the first building. So we're going to be fully compliant. There's been an issue with the drainage channel. If I may just bore you just a little bit. Okay. Here we go. So we're putting a building right here. We are the current Army Corps of Engineers permit and Department of Environmental Quality issued a permit to us, a wetland permit, that allows us to disturb up to the edge of this road, and then allowed us to disturb from this point all the way down to here. In fact, that's where Isabel Boulevard is built. What's left is just a dry channel, and it is a drainage swale, the product of doing this intersection at 211. It's not a buffer. It was never a buffer. It has second and third undergrowth and some trees in there. We plan to replant all these trees along 211. In fact, along 229, and along 211, we fall under the entrance corridor ordinance, which requires very tight landscaping. So it is in our benefit to landscape the project to make it beautiful, and we plan to do that. But I want to assure you, as a professional engineer myself, and I believe that I've been a good steward of our project in terms of environmental concerns by saving wetlands and stream credits and staying off steep slopes in our original proffer amendment that we submitted in 2019. This channel is bone dry. It's a drainage channel, and we are paying, and this is another misinformation. We have paid $291,000 to a stream credit where they can take this money and fix a stream that's been destroyed and eroded by runoff. We have those on our project, but this money doesn't go at Clevenger's. It goes in the watershed, and there's been rumors that, oh yeah, well this is gonna go to different projects everywhere. No, it doesn't. It stays in that watershed by law. So for the opportunity to disturb this drainage channel, ditch, really, if you will, we're paying this money for it to go for a much better purpose, where a stream restoration is actually needed. And we think this is a fantastic trade-off, quite honestly. And this concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to take questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, sir.
Have any questions for the applicant? Keith?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sir, thank you for the presentation. It's glad to hear that you're optimistic that you can have a medium-sized grocery store come in, that you're very hopeful for that. But
Yes.
are you getting interest also from the other types of stores that would be able to provide the necessities for the residents there, like a drugstore, dollar store, something like that?
We are getting, we are pursuing, we're pursuing a urgent care / pharmacy. This is a new concept we are creating. And we have spoken to local doctors and local pharmacists. We cannot raise interest from a CVS and a Walgreens. These guys are shutting down stores.
Yeah.
They're not going to come to our project. But we're going to create the opportunity. We're going to do an urgent care, and we're going to do a pharmacy associated with it. Now, it doesn't have to be a freestanding building. It can be in one of these end lines. It doesn't need a drive-through either. You know, and we have seen those actually in Woodbridge, where you have an urgent care facility and has a pharmacy attached to it. So I feel we're in control of that. So I feel very positive that it will happen. We are getting tremendous interest from small local businesses, your dentist, your hair salon, your nail salon. We have a national coffee chain interested in this store right here. And it all waiting on this proffer amendment and the setback. And this is no BS, this is the truth. Wawa is waiting on that to be, you know, either denied or approved, they'll sign or just walk. This building right here, we feel, we need to vet all these applicants because a lot of people get excited about starting a business and we don't want people to commit their life savings into something that they're not gonna succeed at. So we're vetting a lot of people, but so far what we have seen, qualified people that stepped up and ready to sign. We sent 7 LOIs, 7? Is it 7? 7 LOIs, letters of intent, to various, and some of them from Warrenton. So I say this because we're competing with Warrenton. Warrenton is a populous center.
Yeah.
We're competing with their centers. If you go to the Warrenton shopping facility, shopping centers over there, and you look at their vacancy and you call their broker, and I would encourage anybody to do so, and ask them what incentive is the developer offering. You'll be amazed. They're giving away the store. Just come in. If you qualify, we will build it for you. We will spend it. We'll give you free rent for a year. Just come in and sign up. This is who we're competing against. But we feel confident that, you know, it's like baby steps. If we are forced to go in and do 108, like Sam was saying, well, first of all, we can't. We're not going to build buildings that's going to be vacant and they'll be subject to graffiti and the like.
Yeah.
They'll be crazy. And plus, that will stigmatize the center. People, even the ones that will be interested, they'll come and say, well, why is this building vacant? And how long it's been vacant? So you'll start to look like something is not right about the center. So what we're asking the county to do is to give us a little bit longer runway. Let us manage this project to where we can deliver the end product the way the citizens of the county expect, and we can, you know, make a living off of it. We don't want to build something that's going to be costing us money and sit
Yeah.
vacant.
And then one final thing. So if with the removal of the second-story apartments, then are all these one-story buildings, and then what would your maximum height be? And that's all I've got.
Okay, that's a good question. We actually addressed that in the 2019 proffers. We did not remove the apartments, but what we said we're going to do is create a facade, if I may. Let me go to one of the pictures I can show you. We created a facade that gives you the impression of a tall building, but it's actually a parapet wall with windows. It's cheaper to build. It's aesthetically pleasing. It looks like a tall building. But the most effective retail construction, from my experience, 30-some years doing this, is one-story buildings. Now, you see a lot of developments, a lot of centers that have, oh, here we go. Come on. Sorry, let me just get to the one picture. It'll make sense. In our land use plan back in 2019, we provided a schematic of what the building would look like to address the massing. And we've addressed that in the later section of the proffer statement. But here, if I can get to where I need to go, right here, this one, University Center. That's a one-story building. It looks like it's a two-story, but it's not. It's tall ceilings inside. I mean, right now you go to some retail stores and restaurants, you look up, it's like 10, 12 foot, 15 foot tall, and it's exposed ceiling. You see the ductwork, you see the sprinkler system. People love that. That's what they want to see. So on the outside, it looks like, oh, gee whiz. You know, it's a big building, but in reality, and this is another example right here. This is a one-story facility, but look how tall it stands. In fact, you can see that in our own building. If I may just bore you a little bit longer. Yeah, you can see it in our building right here. This is a one-story building. But see, it gives you the impression that it's two stories. You know? And this is all glass. This is all open. This entrance foyer is all open. And it's duplicated right there. I mean, you can make these parapets as high as you want to make them.
Okay,
So,
all right.
so what is the actual intended max height then?
For these retail buildings, we're seeing like 15 foot, 16 foot is desired. Yes, ma'am. From the slab to the bottom of the floor, bottom of the ceiling joist.
I'm saying outside, if you measure from the base
No,
of
no.
the building.
Outside it can be like this right there will probably be every bit of I would say about 20, 25 feet, right there.
So the intention is under 35 feet tall.
Beg your pardon?
The intention is under 35 feet tall?
The intention is markability. You know, in industrial buildings that we're doing, these are 35 foot tall inside, and outside you don't have to do the parapet wall. These guys right here, tenants, they like having a tall ceiling.
I understand that, but what I'm trying to get at and what my fellow planning commissioner is trying to understand is, you know, are we talking about, like I said, from the base to the top of the roof? Are we looking at 40 feet? Are we looking
No.
at 80 feet?
No, you're looking,
Where are we at?
like this building right here, thank you for clarifying. This building right here is my guess, and I haven't measured it, this is probably about 20 feet, with the inside being
No, outside, looking at the outside.
20 feet on the outside, 20 feet measured from this point right here in the sidewalk up to this line right there.
Okay. Yes.
I had a few questions. Can you tell me, in terms of the leases, I know you submitted the first plan. For that building, do you have all the leases in place for that building that's been submitted for permit?
We have the precursor to a lease, which is the letter of intent. The letter of intent sets the term of the agreement in the lease. It's reviewed by the tenant, it's produced by us or our broker, and it's like the roadmap to the lease is what they're gonna see in the lease. And that gives us the opportunity to request their financials. And then we study their financials, and if everything checks out, then it goes right into the lease document. And
Okay, yeah, I guess, usually my experience has been they would have a feasibility study, and they'd actually have like a 90-day study period or something along those lines as part of the pre-lease agreement. So those leases have actually been, they're an intent to lease, but usually they're on some sort of study period or something like that. Have
That's
they
the
actually
buy.
evaluated the sites and said, yes, we want to be here?
Yes.
Okay.
The feasibility study is mostly applicable when a buyer is involved. If somebody wants to buy something, they want to check the title, they want to check the zoning, they want to check all these things. But in terms of leasing, it's a mutual agreement. It's cited in the letter of intent, and if they sign off on the letter of intent, that's the basis of the lease. There is no study period.
Okay. My experience is there has been. I was Mid-Atlantic
Okay.
Retail Director, so I'm familiar with the process there. But in any respect, as part of the, and this may be a question for Sam, what was the tax revenue that was being generated by the commercial development that was here? What was the time frame for generating those taxes, those increases? No, and the reason I ask is because any time frame delay is going to delay the increase in tax base that the county would get.
There was a fiscal impact statement done, I believe probably 2005 with the original rezoning. But that also intended for it to start in 2005, 2006.
Right.
It just started a couple years ago. So I'd have to go back and look at those. It's been, like I said, since 2005, so we're looking at 20 years ago. I'd have to pull that document out. I don't think that this applicant, Ahmad, has not done a new fiscal impact statement that I'm aware of, at least not one that he submitted this time around.
It was just a question, just trying to understand that, because I guess that ties back in with your timing of how long you want, and how long you need. It can't be a ever-ending time frame because, as we know, the market goes up and down. You have
Right.
commercial leases that are not leasable. You can go to Tyson's Corner today and you'll find a ton of space you want,
Right.
type of thing.
No, obviously, we're motivated, sorry to interrupt you, but we're motivated to build and lease. That's why we invested in the project. That's why we gave away the residential. We're not interested in it, and we kept the commercial. We are actively trying to build this project.
Okay. Are you building any spec flex office buildings?
Not at this time, no. No, we're
Okay.
focusing right now on the retail, and possibly, if we strike a deal with this one hotel operator, maybe the hotel will be next.
Okay. Is the hotel one of the, you have a LOI on the hotel,
It's in negotiation.
but you don't have one currently, correct?
Nothing as of this moment.
Sometimes
but-
they're very picky too to get them in the
Very
center.
picky.
So I certainly understand the difficulty in
And if somebody was
getting
sent-
everything leased.
Yeah.
Trust me on that.
Yeah.
And I know e-commerce is a big thing, going away from brick and mortar stores and things like that. Because that certainly has been happening over the last 10 years,
Right.
that kind of thing. So I understand the difficulty there. Couple things, on the right-of-way and there's, what's the status with the TIA in the signal at that intersection?
Well, I don't need to have a slide for that. Lennar submitted a brand-new traffic study, and it's been with VDOT, I kid you not, going about a year now. There's an issue with all the stuff along 211 is approved and okay by VDOT. They don't have an issue with that. The only hang-up with the traffic study is the intersection of Isabel Boulevard and 229. There's an ongoing disagreement between Lennar and VDOT, and looks like both sides dug in. And my feeling is the proffer say you will do whatever VDOT says you will do.
Right,
So-
right.
So I don't,
Well,
But-
the reason I ask is because it's being implied that some of the uses may change, right? Like if you had a hotel site, as an example. So how is the different uses being applied to that TIA?
it's in the TIA. All of our
The
uses,
current, like the hotel is in there?
it's in there.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, if you look at the TIA, you'll see the map that you have seen here in it already.
It's already in it.
It's
Okay,
already-
that's why I was wondering if that
Yes.
was included as part of the TIA, the study. Because the other thing is, have you considered other uses within the site, such as like a community, I know you have a community center of some sort? Or a field house or something, athletic facilities, I mean,
Actually,
there's
one
other
of the,
things.
one of the LOI is going to a membership style, what are they called? Gym, thank you.
I got you. Yeah, I was just
I don't go
curious.
to gyms, so.
Concerning the setback, I'm not familiar with the original study, but I guess it was 178 feet previously?
It's 200 feet, and with the right-of-way reservation, you get a credit of 22 feet, so that drops it to 178.
So I guess when the project was previously considered, was there not thought given to what the retailers are going to want here in terms of frontage and things like that? Because for the most part, they're always going to want high traffic count, they're always going to want high visibility, facing the frontage of the roads. They're always going to want, in some cases, double fronts, if you would, so they'd have a front that
That's
faces
right.
the road and then a front in the back.
That's actually an
So
excellent
the question was not all that considered back when that was originally done?
That's really an excellent question, and I appreciate your raising it. In 2005, this entire project was zoned by Centex. Centex is a residential builder.
Right.
And they didn't have any idea what the hell they're doing. They just put together a package and, and they submitted it. If we were involved in 2005, we would have then flipped it around and showcased it on 211. That's who your customers, with all due respect to the community that we belong to, it's just not sufficient to support 144,000 square feet. So where's the difference coming from? It's coming from Warrenton heading to us, and we believe we can do that, and Rappahannock coming to us to shop here. In fact, this afternoon I received a call from a lady association for the elderly in Rappahannock, was asking about a pharmacy and a wellness center and so on and so forth. So I believe we can pull, of course, we can pull from Rappahannock into our center.
I got you. Yeah, I was just wondering, even since you've been involved in it, why this didn't come before earlier?
That's another good question. At the time, we were making so many changes, primarily to the residential, because without getting the residential lifted off the ground, the commercial will not survive. I was concerned to come to the board with too many requests, and in hindsight, I made a mistake.
I got you.
And then what really hurt us more than anything else is COVID. But honestly, the honest answer to your question, we could have never been able to get an 80,000 Kohl's or Macy's or it's just not going to happen. You don't have rooftops for that. So the whole concept is flawed. But I was leery of coming to the board and the planning commission with a list this big of changes that I want to make.
Gotcha.
So we sort of thought we'll just do our best.
Understood. I'll leave.
You finished?
Yep. I'll stop.
Okay, my turn. So I'm just trying to understand that slide you had that showed the setbacks being reduced and the red lines, the green lines.
Sure.
Other way.
Sorry, I'm going as
It's going
fast
the
as
wrong way.
Yeah, I don't want to jam it or. This one or this one?
the red and green lines, but not that, that one, yeah.
Yes.
All right, so can you point better so I can understand the, my initial in 2019 was we're kind of creating a little mini Reston. All right, so now I'm looking at this and I'm looking at where is the potential gas station going to go on this?
Oh, okay, good. It's right here. This is
All
the
right, so
gas
it's
station.
deep, it looks like it's deep in there. It
Yes,
seems-
I mean, this is the canopy right here. Unfortunately, you
The
see,
canopy can't go in the setback, yeah, okay.
no. Mr. McLaren made that clear to us.
Okay, got it. Okay, so, all right, so that location is where you hypothetically would like a gas station to go.
Yes,
Okay, and then all of the other traffic that is going to circulate through the drive up this and the drive up that are going to go in those buildings next to it. So it looks like a lot of traffic to me in that tightness. And where's the park and ride going?
oh, the park and ride.
It's staying
sits here
there?
now. No, ma'am.
Right,
It's
where is it
right there.
going?
We're building 150. This plan is ready, and it's about ready to be submitted to the county. This has been discussed with VDOT. It's proffered, actually, this location is proffered.
Okay,
And it's gonna be landscaped, lit, and all that good stuff.
so how do they get from, if they're coming from Warrenton, how do they make a U-turn to come back and get their car or what?
Forgive me, if you don't mind, let me just go back. I keep pushing the wrong, beg your pardon, what is your question?
So
again?
if on the way home at night, they come up to the light at 211 and do a U-turn to come back to that
To the
lot
park and
location?
ride?
Yeah.
No, they can turn right here.
Where is
Eastwood-
the light? Where's the 211 stoplight or whatever?
Right here.
Up there?
That's the
so
211.
there's gonna
7-Eleven
be-
is right here. This
Yeah.
is the 211,
Yeah, okay.
229.
All right.
This is Old Bridge right here. And this right here is a new cut that we're
Yeah,
making.
is that approved by VDOT right there?
Yes,
It is,
yes.
okay.
That's
And-
part of if you recall, I just mentioned VDOT's okay with everything we're doing on 211, but they're having issues with Lennar stuff on 220. We're not part of that stuff on 229.
Yeah, all right, so who's building that decel lane to come, you
We
are?
Yes, ma'am.
We are not as a county being
No, you're not.
requested. You're gonna build it.
But we're happy to share it with you.
No, we don't want that.
Okay, we'll do it ourselves.
We
then.
want that tax revenue that you're going to stretch out. So, all right, so,
Well, I would tell you this, if I may talk about this tax revenue. We just received our tax bill, and I was looking at our financial report, and I'm happy to report to you that our taxes, just by putting asphalt in the ground, went up fourfold on this little parcel, and we haven't even started. So the treasurer is fantastic, he's quite wise. You know, I never thought I love seeing taxes for me to pay, but I was impressed with how he quickly recognized that there's an improvement in value in the land.
That's
Boom, we got hit with that tax bill.
good, okay. All right, so you're building the decel lane and
Yes,
the
ma'am.
setbacks. So I was just a little concerned about this whole setback business, because in 2005, then again in 2019, everybody on these commissions and the supervisors approved that setback, and you're wanting to change it. And you want to get all these potential purchasers or leases, vendors, closer to the road. But it's very flat through there. Can they not be seen anyway? I mean,
Well, it's not quite flat, actually. It's.
can you make it
there's-
flat?
No, I mean, if I may go to the first slide.
Order. Go ahead, sir.
Oops, we skipped it. Okay, so here is 211, and here's our coming soon sign, and there's a drop from 211 down to this level right here of about 8 feet. Remember, when we started this project, this was a 35-foot drop. This entire site was 35 feet lower than what you see it now. So we raised it as much as we can, but quite frankly, we just ran out of dirt to raise it higher. So from 211, there's a slope, and you can see it when you're out there, that it drops 8 feet. And then from the 8 foot, it slopes down 2% all the way to where the buildings are. In hindsight, it worked out great for us because what that will do is the buildings in the back, so long as the road is high and our further out buildings, you can see them. But if they were level, a car at a speed of 40, 30 miles an hour, it can pass through and will not see the buildings. But if the car is higher and the buildings are lower, the visibility is much better. And if you look at our plan, we intentionally, sorry, I keep going back and forth. Okay, this is our plan. You'll notice that we purposely, this is the premium corner, more premium than this corner.
Right, that's why it's weird that the gas station's down there.
Yeah, actually, you are absolutely correct.
Okay.
We left this open purposely because the guy or the gal sitting at this traffic light, we want him to see in. We don't want his vision obstructed by a building. And this is part of the marketability of the center.
Okay. I think that's about all I have to say, other than I thought we were gonna try to make it, when, I guess that's gonna be your facades and so forth. So, we'll keep it a resting, like, feel. But, how long is this runway you keep talking about? I'm not sure I saw that anywhere in writing.
We don't know. That's why you
Well,
didn't
how are
see
we
that.
supposed to?
We performed this project, and please, I want to underscore the fact that it's all based on studies and performance. Initially, when we bought this project, and this is pre-COVID conditions, we thought we'll be out of there in 7 years. We'll be fully sold out, leased out, under management in 7 years. Now, our horizon is about 10 years. We think in 10 years, we'll have this thing completed. And 10 years from the day we started, mind you, and we started a couple of years ago, so about 8 years out, basically. And like I said, the last thing we want to do is compromise the integrity of the center by building a building that stays vacant and will stigmatize the entire project and make it appear as a failing project, which is something we don't want to do.
Yeah, and I don't blame you there. Business models have changed since COVID. And as you've mentioned, we no longer need some of those businesses that you pointed out have gone out of business. They're not, they didn't change with the times. That's not necessarily COVID or you or me. It has to do with, that's what happened. All of our lives changed. So going forward, I'm trying to visualize what's going to fit in there even today. I mean, it is more about health and wellness, and I mean, even the YMCA kind of ideas, those
Well,
things are a little bit more
You know, you'll be
acceptable.
surprised, 144,000 square feet is a lot of square feet, but it's not something we haven't done in the past. Our project in Bristow is 178,000 square feet.
Right.
So the absorption, to put it really fairly to you, the fact that we are out here creating the market ourselves, we are creating our market. There's a retail desert out here. In Woodbridge, Prince William, Fairfax, Loudoun, you're surrounded by
That's right.
gobs of subdivisions. Here, we are creating a market. We're saying, hey, look, we are here. Look how beautiful our buildings are.
Right, but you
Yeah.
have to get the vendor to agree to sign the LOI and the lease, et cetera, and they're not
That is
showing
correct.
up.
That's
They're not
correct.
here yet.
And that's why we have adjusted our approach. That's why we said, look, we are never going to convince the nationals to come in.
Right.
And unless we start filling the center with local entrepreneurs that are capable and entrepreneurial and want to start a business. And we have 7 of them right now in the LOIs. So our approach, instead of anchoring the site, our approach, fill it from the small operator forward. And also, I'll be honest with you, the addition of Wawa is a huge shot in the arm for us, because these guys, just on their own, they generate so much traffic. They
do.
bring a lot
That's
of traffic. And we are, you know, another goodie with our center, we're putting charge stations for electric vehicles. I drive an electric vehicle, my wife does too, but I have a gas vehicle as well. Wawa's putting electric chargers.
Yeah.
The significance of that is almost self-serving, because when you pull in to charge your vehicle, you have about 45 minutes to kill. That's where your sandwich is going to come from. That's where your coffee. So we are putting charge stations right here. This entire row right here is going to be charge stations. And we're going to advertise that. We're going to get on the map, and we're going to say, hey, you know, we have charge stations. Come and charge your vehicle. And while you're there, get yourself a cup of coffee.
Okay, I think that's all I have. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
though.
All right?
Yes, sir. I want to talk a little bit more about what Ms. Thornhill brought up about the, you know, when is the end date now? Okay? When you went and you got your application, you got approved on this, you said you'd have 123 square feet when you built 491 units, right? Now you want to take that down to 55. Okay? So if we don't do anything tonight and leave it like it is, what's the impact on your development?
Well, if you leave it the way it is, quite honestly, we would lose the national coffee chain and Wawa right away. They're waiting on this meeting to happen before they sign.
Okay?
And that's a huge, huge blow to us, quite honestly. There is a way out for us, embedded in the proffers, to where we can well, I mean, we would have to, I'll be honest with you, we will have to, I don't know what we're gonna do. I mean, if we get denied tonight, we lose Wawa, we lose the coffee store, and there's a chicken store I forgot to mention that's interested in these multi-tenant units.
Okay.
These guys are acting as the anchor for the center. These guys are going to bring the traffic in the center, and it's going to help these local entrepreneurs in the back. This is our vision.
So I understand the impact if things stay the same. So now we go forward and say, okay, we're going to change it, but when are you going to get to 123? I'm hearing you say that we're going to give it a good shot, and that's not an end line for me.
Right, I understand. I mean, our best forecast, like I was telling Ms. Thornhill, initially when we bought the project, we were forecasting 7 years start to finish. We are 2 years into the start. We are now thinking 10 years for 100% completion. So we do have an end game in place. However, things will accelerate automatically. Once there's excitement about the center, once there's activity by these front row retailers that bring in traffic, it's going to create excitement about the center. It's going to create more leasing opportunities. We are in the business of building buildings and leasing them. We're not going to, you know, if somebody qualifies and wants to lease a building, we're going to build that building and lease it. This is the whole thing we took on when we bought the property. So, so this is basically, hopefully I answered your question.
8 years from now, if you're not there, where are we? I mean,
8 years from now, if we're not there, honestly, I don't have the crystal ball to tell you. Nobody does. I feel strongly in the fact that we are conservative builders. We are a local family business. We don't stand here in front of the planning commission or the board and sell you guys on a bunch of baloney. Everything we said back in 2019, we have delivered on. And we put forth our best estimate in good faith. And we hope and we pray that it will deliver. And if it doesn't, we're gonna have to step back and punt again and try to figure out what we need to do next.
Okay, so you think by changing these proffers, it will incentivize some businesses to get in there?
Absolutely.
And that will attract more business?
Absolutely, without a doubt, without a doubt.
Other question I had.
Yes, sir.
You talked about the PUD ordinance, the recently passed PUD
Yes.
ordinance. Okay? In the application here, you have a sheet that talks about modifications and waivers. So my understanding is that those no longer apply,
All gone.
okay?
In fact, then
And
you-
there's no grandfathering of the development, that it doesn't have to follow the PUD that we just passed not too recently ago?
It would have to follow the new PUD ordinance unless it's spoken to specifically in the proper statement.
I agree
That we're
100%.
looking at tonight.
Okay.
We have, Mr. Ziegler, we have a case right now, my son is handling in Loudoun County, an industrial site. 2 years ago, the Board of Supervisor in Loudoun changed their zoning ordinance for PDGI? Yeah, that's a heavy industrial zoning. To encourage development in the industrial sector, the Board of Supervisors said, look, your 1.4, and you need to jump in and correct me, the FAR, the 1.4 is, we're gonna let you go with 2.46, meaning you can put much bigger building on your lot. Oh, well, that's exciting. So Chris said, I'm gonna go ahead and just apply, because the way we understood it, you just submit an application and you know, the staff will approve it and you'll be subject to the new ordinance automatically. Well, we didn't realize it, that our proffers for that site, we didn't develop that site, we just bought a parcel there. It was a previous developer that did it. It does state in it the year of the zoning ordinance that applicable. It says 1971. So when he met with staff says, you have to go through a proper amendment. But wait a minute, you know, you guys, this, that, and other. It's right there, it says it clearly. You fall under 1971. So if you want the higher FAR, if it didn't say that in your proffers, you're good to go. Staff will approve it for you. But now you have to go in front of planning commission and in front of the board and, I mean, it's a guaranteed approval. No, not guaranteed, but it's a given, it's a process, basically. But same thing applies here. Our proffers did not dictate a year that the PUD was applicable to our project, did not state the year. It just says the PUD. And the PUD ordinance is a living document, subject to amendments. And as it changes, those changes will apply to us.
Okay.
We understand it to be that way, and I believe staff concur. So, and this is what we're living by.
Okay. And one last question that has to do with your new monetary proffer of the 25 cents for the commercial area. Does that include both the village center commercial and the employment area?
Well, no, it's only the retail. And the reason for that is retail would require policing. The warehouse, office flex, there's hardly any incidents there, but retail is subject to vandalism. In fact, we've had vandalism while we were constructing the site, to equipment and all that. And that's what prompted us putting in the 25 cents for the sheriff to come out and police our site.
Okay, so do we specifically know then how much square footage that covers, Sam?
144,000,
Okay, it's 144,000. Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it.
Real quick, thank you for your presentation.
Sure.
So the 35-foot setback is still, I'm still at a wash with that. I'm not sure where I fully understand. You don't have to click through.
Okay.
I got you. I remember that. I want to make sure that, you know, businesses need to be seen, but that are you doing any kind of buffer up front at all? Any trees, any evergreens?
I mean, we're-
So
Sorry.
on that, I'm looking at a Google map of the property. It's pretty flat. There is a little bit of a rise, but it's pretty darn flat. From what I'm looking at, Google Maps, August
you're
of
correct.
2024.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, so I just want to make sure that light pollution, we're talking about light pollution from, parking lot lights, but also storefront signage, because you want all the storefronts to aim to 29, correct? And, excuse me, 211, sorry. So 211, and all the dumpsters to aim back towards the neighborhood.
Let me, if I may, let me unpack this. There's a lot
Okay.
of- Yeah.
Okay,
What you're looking at Google right now is unfinished grading of the front. So
Okay.
it does appear to be flat, but actually with final grading, it comes out level because, we're adding a turn lane.
right, right.
And then it drops 8 feet. And
Okay.
that grading is not done yet. We simply ran out of material. The material to finish that grading is coming out of the park and ride. There's a huge cut in the park and
Okay.
ride. The material is going to go there. That's issue number one. Number two, landscaping. We are required by ordinance to comply with the entrance corridor. Entrance corridor? Yeah. And that requires landscaping, quite a bit of landscaping. So it's going to be landscaped accordingly. Thirdly, all of our lights, be it on the buildings, be it signage on the building, be it parking lot lights, will be dark sky compliant. No exception. And this is not something new to us. This is something we do in all of our commercial properties.
Okay, and to get back to the point where you want everything to face 211, and then the dumpster side,
Oh, beg your pardon, yeah.
Yeah.
The dumpsters are actually in an enclosure, brick enclosure, and they don't really face the,
they'll face the back of the store and the
yes, you can
seats.
see it right there between the two buildings. It's gonna be gated,
Okay,
and it's gonna be right here.
all right.
You cannot see it from the front, and you won't be able to see it from the back.
Okay. And are we talking, when dumpster access, you're gonna have a grease trap, you're gonna have all that in
All that,
place?
yes.
I know that attracts rodents, we got neighbors nearby, we wanna make sure that's done very well. How many businesses are able to go in building 1 and 2, or A and B, whatever?
Okay, Building A will accommodate 21 stores, and Building B is a little bit shorter, so it'll be like, I think, 17 stores. But the way we design these buildings, we kept the demising walls out. So if we have a
Right.
tenant that want to do
Once a double unit,
a
understood.
restaurant of 4,000 square feet, he or she will take 4,000 square foot bay,
Right.
and a demising wall will be at the 4,000 mark. So it may end up, instead of the 20-some units, it may end up just being, depending on the combination and sizes, it may end up being much
So
smaller
you're
number
just
of
under
tenants.
40 right now, single use, and obviously it can fluctuate.
Yes. And don't forget the grocery store.
The grocery store, and that's not a done deal, LOI, right? We talked about.
That is, we feel pretty good about it.
Okay, good.
We feel pretty good about it. And we have a backup plan. If the Lidls of the world didn't pan out, we have a wonderful, wonderful local operator that's very, very much interested.
The Wawa, or we'll just call it the gas station for now, is that front end going to be treated like a giant parking lot, basically to fulfill the needs of Wawa? You said a car wash, you said a Wawa.
No, Wawa's not gonna have a car wash.
Wawa- Is there going to be a car wash? I thought I heard mention of a car wash.
Yes, there will be a car wash right there.
Okay. So car wash, Wawa, yeah, that's a lot of traffic. Yeah, I would, do we have an LI on the, or a TIA on the car wash? Because I know Walmart's not doing too well down there. I don't know if you've built another car wash. They seem to cause a lot of havoc in that area.
Well, we have one in Manassas that it's, that's, you know, a ground lease that's doing fine. I'm not quite sure I understood the question.
Yeah, I'm worried about the impact on traffic in that neighborhood with the car wash setback in there. Is that road that it's going to be built on, that it backs up to, accessible by residents?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah,
This
cuts
right
right through,
here,
right.
this right here is the main, this right here is Stonehaven Avenue. The Board of County and the Planning Commission back in 2005 wanted to lessen traffic on Rixieville and on 621. So this road right here parallels, it cuts the property from the most northern end all the way down to
Understood.
621.
Understood. I would be careful with that car wash set so close on that road that it doesn't create a huge backup, as we see at our.
Oh, stacking, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, okay, well, that's a good question. Stacking will happen, right? You see, there's like stacking lanes right there. All
Yeah.
this area is for stacking.
I can tell you're not from Culpeper, it's all good. Go to Walmart just once, I promise. You'll see what I'm talking about. Anyways, it's a concern.
Sure.
And I think traffic's, I mean, I know there's not a TIA specifically in Stonehaven for that reason, but it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. With a neighborhood that large and almost 40 businesses nearby, that's going to be a problem. When you talked about the back commercial area, we've kind of not gone into that at all. What egress are you looking at for the fire department? What kind of business is going back in there? You said cabinet makers and.
Oh, you mean here?
Correct.
Here. I mean, these are going to be, the roads are designed to VDOT standards.
Okay.
They'll be wide enough to have a fire truck. It will have fire hydrants.
Right.
All over the place.
I'm worried about egress. I don't see a U-turn. I don't see a way in, way out. I just see one way in.
Well,
That-
normally, I mean, people will come in, I mean, their vans and service vehicles will come in the back. And then this is for customers and employees right here and right there, for example. They just back in and back out like your typical shopping center or typical industrial park.
And the last question from me, since you own the property next door, and that's already been before us as well with the welding shop, was you purchased that property?
Oh, this one right here?
Yeah, the one off the map, yes.
Yes,
You
we-
purchased that property, because originally that was gonna be for store, like boat and RV storage. Is that your plan to kind of
No,
connect that?
no, that's not us. That's not us. It's right here. The RV storage
Was
and all
up
that
front?
is right here. That's
Okay,
not
so
us.
not on the welding, not
No,
on the
it's
welding.
not on our property.
Okay, I misunderstood
Yeah.
that. Yeah, any plans to connect to that for future projects?
Oh, to connect to this parcel?
Yeah, I mean, you bought the property, so I understand.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you, this is, I have a crazy idea for this parcel, but if I keep saying it, my son will kill me. I'm thinking about these, weekend retreats, because it backs up to the river, have like, and I think I talked to Sam about it to some extent. We want to do like campground, weekend retreat, bungalows in the woods with this kind of stuff.
Okay.
I'm crazy when it comes to these things.
That's-
Probably I'll die
I didn't know if
before
it was gonna be
anything-
more commercial, or I was trying to get
And
to.
we,
No,
and
no.
we don't want to go in that direction anyway. We
Yeah,
have-
no,
we need
but
to stay
I'm-
right on this one.
Yeah, I appreciate your candid
Okay.
candid
All
answer.
right.
Thank you.
Okay, got it? Okay, good question. Now we kind of have an idea what might be there. Okay,
All right. Thank you much.
hold on just a second. I think we have this
You
gentleman.
So, I couldn't, and maybe it's for Sam, but did VDOT actually approve this? The proffers?
The proffers, they've made some comments on the proffers. They don't have to approve the
They
proffers.
don't have to approve it?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I saw some comments about the TIA, that's why I was asking those questions.
Yeah.
If,
They'll approve any future site plans or TIA amendments or anything like that, so.
I got you. And then, can you go back to the slide that had the 35-foot on it? And the only question I had for you is around 229, not so much 211, but on 229, is there, because I saw the line going straight, but whether or
Yes.
not you could chamfer that corner to provide more room in the future?
Yeah,
in
this is the
event-
right of way right here.
Yeah,
This is the right of way.
understood.
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was wondering about whether or not you would chamfer that corner further in the event that you had like a shared use path, if you had, rapid flashing beacons, crosswalks, things like that that were in there.
Yeah, I mean, a setback is applicable to a building, and a structure like a canopy. There are none. So if we need to, so the setback right here, really based on this design, which will be the basis of our construction, is going to be open ground, basically. So if we need to put like a paved path or whatever, that's all that can be accommodated. It doesn't have to be inside the right-of-way.
Yeah, I was just thinking like if 229 widened, if you had the signal there, you're gonna have all the signal equipment that's gonna be at that radius.
Yes,
The
this
curb
demonstrates.
return, it starts to get fairly tight where the red line touches the right of way.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
But this is based on the future growth of 29. You see the two turn lanes right there? Yeah, so that's accounted for. And,
And then the last thing I said was about the setback. A lot of times what you see with retail is you put the signage on the upper portion of the 30-foot, 20-foot height so that it's visible, so you don't necessarily have to be against the roadway or closer to the roadway. You just have to be able to visibly see it.
right,
And so a lot of times they elevate the signage, they change the signage, make it bigger, they have a sign package, all that gets submitted to the jurisdiction, it gets reviewed.
Correct,
And so even if you don't have it closer to the road, there's still ways to actually make it more visible, make it more marketable, if you would. That's all I have. Thank you.
okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir, thank you all.
Sam? Are there building height restrictions there, isn't it?
In the code, it's 45 feet, yeah,
What is it?
45 feet.
45, okay. All right, good, good. Okay,
Sanford, I got one question for Sam.
okay.
So it's 45, but what about the employment center? Same thing, 45?
45 feet. yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay. At this time, we'll open a public hearing, and hopefully, those who might have been here in reference to data centers, that situation has been addressed, and because there will not be, right, Sam? From what we have, there will not be data centers in that location. Can't be.
The applicant addressed that and said that he
That's
was not proposing any, and that he was fine with the code, and the current code requires additional permitting for
And
data
would have
centers
to
in the
come here
future. Yeah.
and to us again anyway, so, okay. So at this time, anyone who would like to speak on behalf of this application, just raise your hand, and when you come forth, give your full name for the record, and we have 2 minutes, and we'll time that, and so that we can give those who would like to speak that opportunity, so. Yes, sir. He's already gotten up, so he's ready to go. Okay, he want to leave quickly after. No,
Thank
go
you
right
very
ahead.
much, Commissioners. First of all, thank you for this hearing, and thank you for the developer. I think you did a great job. He addressed a lot of our concerns. I would leave you with this thought, and it's my understanding that that quadrant is part of the village concept of Culpeper County. So we have the southeast quadrant that is now developed and going to be even further developed. We go north, we go west, we go southwest over there. This is an important decision, I think, for you folks, relative to what our community is going to look like in the next 5, 10, or 15 years. It's my understanding within 5 to 7 years, all 4 of those quadrants will come out of the ground. 500, 700, 100, or whatever. But we're going to have a city at Clevenger's Corner. So whatever action you're taking here is important. And I would then move to, before I get to that point, I would say when we heard about the retail proposal, a lot of the locals chuckled because we looked at Warrenton and we saw all the empty stores. So what we see here, I'm not saying it's disingenuous, but I think the developer probably well knew he'd be coming back here addressing this issue. Because coming out 8 miles from Warrenton and trying to put that kind of retail in that space was sort of a chuckle 5 years ago, and it hasn't changed. So I would, and then finally, big mountain guy, love to hike, so the word view shed means a lot to me. And I'm trying to think of what that quadrant is going to look like 10 years from now. And this property's closing in on 29 with the loss of that space, to me, is going to have a significant effect on the view shed of our village.
Okay.
So I would ask that you take those under consideration. You've done a great job. Our developer has done a great job. There's still some concerns here on our part. I thank you very much.
Could you give me your full name for the record, please?
John Haggerty,
John.
Hagarty, resident, 23-year resident of South Wales.
Thank you very much, John. Yes, sir. With the hat on.
Please excuse me if I don't stand because
Well,
I'm getting old. Ain't fit for-
If you stay there, we
I can turn.
would you give him the
I got a
microphone?
loud voice.
He's going to give you. We need it for the recording, so that they can hear it in the recording. So we'll just bring you the microphone.
Getting old ain't for the faint of heart, I can tell you
Oh,
that.
but it's a blessing that you're still here.
Anyway,
Ooh,
I've just,
yeah.
oh, I'm sorry, my name is David C. Horn, Horne, okay? I think it has been made clear that there is going to be no data center set up in that particular area. I think it would be a good idea if you got that in writing, you know, number one, okay? Number two, and then I'll shut up. This isn't going to be finished for 8 years, all right? I don't know whether you've seen the traffic up in that area just lately. When I first moved into that area, which I'm in Fauquier County up there, if you got 10 cars going down that road, you were lucky, okay? Kind of like Culpeper at one time. Rush hour was maybe 6 cars. I remember it well. Anyway, I think VDOT's going to have a very good look at that, because there's no way in 8 years, the way the traffic is there now, it's horrendous. It's coming from all over, all right? And I think that VDOT needs to take a darn good look at that and see if they can come up with something, because in 8 years, you're going to probably triple the population up around that area. And that road is where 229, 211 meet. Not going to be able to handle a shopping center of this size. And by the way, I do comment on you folks. You did a very good job of putting this situation together. But these are things you got to take into consideration, you know. And 8 years is a long time.
Okay. Thank you very much,
That's
Mr.
it.
Horn. Okay. You next?
I am now. All right.
Okay.
Sarah Parmalee, Piedmont Environmental Council. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. We are relieved to hear that this applies to the new PUD standards, since it is not typical for a project with an approved site plan to suddenly adopt the most recent standard in the county. That being said, staff has still noted concerns associated with the other by right uses in the industrial area, and we would encourage the Planning Commission to look into those and to make sure that increased emphasis on this area is not going to lead to additional concerns with noise, traffic, and dust, among other issues. Let's see. We also do not understand how the developer's failure to attract businesses in the commercial space justifies drastically reducing the setbacks for 211. As has been previously mentioned, you know, this is a rural county and aesthetics are very important, and the aesthetic is typically not 45-foot tall buildings of metal and glass. We are also, you know, this site is also not great for affordable housing. However, the loss of the most affordable units in this site you know, does further exacerbate an existing lack of housing in this bracket in this area, which includes rural Rappahannock as well as rural parts of Fauquier. You know, finally, we we do not believe that this developer has offered anything in the amendment that will truly benefit Culpeper County. They have not offered reduced heights. They have not waived potentially inappropriate industrial uses that they still retain. And we would like, if they intend to kick the commercial development down the road again, we would like a more significant concession that would increase the aesthetics of this development and make it more in line with the existing community and landscape. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you. Yes.
Hi there, my name's Adam Neal. I have the property that adjoins, that touches this property, and I think it was here about last year. I got the, there was the parking, RV parking section you guys rezoned right next to my house as light industrial. So already it's got tons of encroachment coming up against my property there, and I can see that what we already have, as the gentleman over here mentioned earlier, there's a tough problem with traffic already starting in there, and we've got trailers, and because there's more than one farm that's coming out there, and there's already an issue with traffic just with the loads that it has, much less everything else coming along. So just wanted to reiterate that being a future problem. The other thing I wanted to throw out there too is, if I understand the more runway needed to get this thing going, I understand the economic issues getting that going. That said, is there anything that we can put in there to, okay, we took a shot, here's the longer runway, you missed that runway, here's either A, a penalty, or B, what are you willing to give for the extra runway? Something of that nature, just to keep everybody above board moving, in the same direction. And I also would second the motion to put something in writing that makes it to where we as a county, okay, we're not putting a data center up there at all. Let's just all agree on it together, and that would alleviate a lot of hand-wringing in the future as this project moves along. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Eric Thompson. I work in the data center industry, and I did until October 11th. They're the most dishonest developers you'll ever meet, and I've actually started speaking out against them at places like this, which is why I don't work for them anymore. They weren't happy with me. I think it needs to be in writing across the board that we have no data center in any property at that location or the adjoining location. Seen it snuck in too many times. Other than that, I moved to the country because I want to live in the country. I don't want to live in suburbia. I moved out. I have 17 acres in Jefferson, and that's why I live there. The housing development that's already there the traffic is atrocious. The number of fatalities that are happening at the yellow flashing light at Springs Road and 229 and the 7-Eleven, 229, 211 interchange have drastically increased because of that housing industry. And we need to look at that before allowing it to go forward. I do love the fact that you're addressing this.
Sir, you have to address
Oh, sorry. I do love the fact that the developer is addressing it. I love the fact that he is focusing on small businesses and trying to grow that. And I really think if we're going to do that, that's where it needs to be focused so that we get money here for business owners here developing and gaining that retail space to flourish instead of it going up to some conglomerate out of Chicago or New York that is never going to send the money back down here for us. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Sorry, first time I've ever had to do this. My name is Laura Hurst, and I live in South Wales. And I'm going to repeat what the other gentleman said just before me. I chose to live in Culpeper County because what it looks like is beautiful. I moved from Woodbridge, for Pete's sake. My husband chooses to commute to the Pentagon for work. It's a long way. We want to live here. Sure, a nice little shopping center. We can't fill, all the presentation. All these stores won't fill the stores. You ask them a question, what happens if you can't? I'm hearing a lot of hemming and hawing, and it's not making any sense to me whatsoever. So what happens when all that fails? He's going to come back, the developer's going to come back and ask for more changes? and maybe ask for rezoning, great, no data center, thank you, love it. But what other changes are gonna be requested? And that intersection already is a hot mess. And another point, you can see any building that goes up in that stretch from the road. There are no more trees at all.
Okay, thank you very much. Did you get her name, Morgan? Okay.
My name's Tony Sheets. I just came tonight because I just wanted to say, I don't want to see our 229, 211 corridor industrialized. It's not our community at all. It's changing, and I didn't hear anything tonight that was offered by the developer that would help contribute to our country community. So I'm encouraging you not to pass the proposed amendment, and unless you get in writing that there's not going to be any data centers and that you can be assured that we're not going to turn into an industrial area rather than our lovely village center. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, my name's Christina Locke, L-O-O-C-K. And I just wanted to, the 2015 Culpeper County Comprehensive Plan, it says, a new village should be based on the best qualities of traditional towns and villages. They should include a range of housing types, shops, and civic buildings. Village centers in Culpeper County should provide an alternative to strip mall and suburban sprawl forms of development. And then specifically about Clevenger's Corner, it says Route 211 should be bordered by a significant buffer to minimize the visual impact of development and to preserve the integrity of the village. So I think those are wise words, and so I just wanted to point that out.
Okay,
Thank
thank you very much. Yes. Let us hold applause, okay? All right.
Hi, my name is Beverly Sellers, and I'm with the South Wales community. And the one thing that I had noted is the discussion about a car wash. And I do recall different studies that the county had done about our water table and the water pressure in South Wales community versus what is being drawn across the street. So if we could just keep that in check and in mind too.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else? You didn't raise your hand.
My name's Kevin Kerr. I moved to Culpeper from Maryland 2 years ago. I grew up in Warrenton. Most of my family still lives in Warrenton. I chose to move further out for all the reasons everyone here has been talking about. Warrenton has developed significantly, and I wanted to move somewhere a little more rural. The developer gave a great presentation, and trusting that he's honest and he has what is in our best interest in mind, I'm sure that he will be able to figure out new strategies, given all his years of experience in the industry, getting the types of businesses into this development that will make him money. I moved here post these plans being approved, the original plans, and there was nothing I can do about it. I see that there could be some benefit to having these stores in the area. My concern, like a lot of people, is the light industrial area that seemed to be passed over at best, if not addressed on purpose. A man with his experience and the amount of money he's put into this project, or his firm, he has plans for that area. There's no way that his company had spent that much money on that area and want to turn it into something other than houses without having specific plans for what they are going to do with it. So I would say that before any changes get approved, that he be able to present his specific unalterable plans without an additional vote. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Oh, she's coming in, and you're next, sir.
My name is Ashley Cave. My husband and I are probably some of the youngest property owners in the room. Purchased the property on Scottsville Road when I was about 28. He and I are originally from Fauquier County and purchased in Culpeper County. I'm now 37, so we've been living there roughly 8 to 9 years. The area has definitely changed a great deal. The cost of housing in Fauquier was what kind of put us over the area, but it was nice that it was over the county line and that we were still close to home. I know that there's definitely a hope for this to generate more tax revenue. I'm sure that you're getting that obviously from personal property taxes from the homes. However, most of the people who work there, myself included, I have continued to shop in Warrenton for anything that I buy, and most all business is done in Warrenton. My hairstylist is in Warrenton. A majority of the clients that I service in my business are located in Warrenton. So this need for the retail space is obviously like extremely important. Most of the other developments that I've seen, example Mint Brook over in Bealton, never really did put any of the retail spaces in until very recently. Unfortunately, a lot of comparisons have to be made to Fauquier County because there hasn't been such a large development in a great deal of time in Culpeper County itself. But there was a lot of discussion of Fauquier County and Fauquier County residents. The developer is a likable guy, but there were a lot of points, obviously he's, wanting to gain empathy from everyone here to have an understanding of the lack of population, but the amount of people who live in the area quite clearly visually has changed with the development of the homes, in addition to other homes that have been put in on Scottsville Road and other areas. I'm not going to be good at it, so just tell me. You're just going to have to cut me off beforehand. Just raise your hand when it's the 2 minutes, because okay. I'm
2
like,
minutes and
I'm
25 seconds.
my heart was beating so fast,
you've
you
done
guys.
good.
It was so hard to come up here.
You've done good, and you got your points across. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, sir.
My
He
name
had
is-
raised his hand.
My name is Patrick Story. I live in the Wildwood neighborhood in Amosville. And I just want to echo what a lot of other people have said so far about this project. This has been an eyesore for the community. It wasn't well thought out from the beginning. And what are the solutions? I mean, the developer's putting forth his solutions to the problem. And what does he need? He needs to fill these spaces. He needs the vendors to be confident that they can run businesses in those spaces. So what does that need? They need more people. They need more development. They need more of these eyesore neighborhoods that have been built. How's this going to end? The only way for that to happen and to solve the traffic problem is to what? To expand the roads, to make them bigger so they can handle more traffic. What does that create? Well, then we'll give them reasons to build more neighborhoods. But no one in this room wants that. So the plan of Clevenger's Corner is just not in line with the community that it's in. It's not in line with the community it's in. We just had a election that supposedly was about saving democracy. What democracy? The people of that community don't want more traffic. The developer talked about the success of the businesses there. Success means more people in that space, which means more traffic, which means more people on the roads. How's that going to be solved? And if you solve it, you're really going to go against what we all want. So consider that. The solution to this problem is not good. It's not in line with what the people of the neighborhoods around it want. And we have nice neighborhoods in that area. South Wales is well built, did not compromise the beauty of Culpeper County. My neighborhood did not compromise the beauty of Culpeper County, but this site is, and this plan is just not well thought out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Brad Porter, and I'm a local resident of Bealton. We purchased a lot just recently in Stonehaven. Finding a neighborhood that was actually available was one of the reasons why we wanted to move there. So that's why we purchased. There wasn't many other options in the area that would fit into our budget. When our house is going to be built by the end of summer, I'll have upwards of about $1 million involved into it. a nice community center like this was kind of the reason why we wanted to move here. We do not want the industrial being there. We want the community center. We want a place where our kid can go. We want, you know, school systems that are good. The traffic at that area is a complete hot mess. We've realized that just from going to visit, to watch progress on our road and watch the building being done. The development, yes, he has done a good job at making it look aesthetically pleasing for people, but, you know, things have to be in writing. Data centers, not one of them. You know, I do not want that. You know, we want to be able to grow our family there, and we want to live, you know, where it gets dark at night. That was the whole reason for purchasing a house in that lot. But thank you very much for your time. My name is Brad Porter again.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name's Bert Harris. I've lived in the area for about 10 years near Clevenger's Corner. I don't have a lot of sympathy for the inability to sell a whole bunch of retail space. I see that, you know, we need some retail space in this area, but instead of building 140,000 square feet, why not cut it down? And with the area left over, you could have a green space. You could plant a wildflower meadow. I actually have done research on a remnant prairie along 211 nearby. We found 50 species of plants growing just right there as you go towards Warrenton. So actually, there's some pretty cool biodiversity in the area. Just something to consider.
Thank you very much, sir.
Charlie Spearing, and I see the developer is very sensitive about, you know, saying he's very sensitive about being identified as like a local developer. Well, all he's doing is bringing all the disaster in Prince William and Loudoun and putting it right on the corner in Culpeper County that we all moved out to get out of. And there's no sensitivities for our needs or the cultural needs. We were told there's going to be a grocery store, restaurants and shops, and now we get a gas station and a chicken place and maybe a coffee shop, and that's all we get after you took that whole corner, completely nuked it, took away all the trees and leveled it. Now it's just going to be this giant eyesore while we give you 10, 15 years to build up your village shops of retail that nobody, that he just explained, retail's already dying. So, like, why the hell are we investing as a community in retail when it's very obvious that that's no longer the model? What we see here is an image of what we saw in Loudoun and Prince William, and that's already dying, so I don't know why we're investing in this at all.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Jennifer Bauer, and I just moved into the Stonehaven.
What's your name again?
Jennifer Bauer. I moved into the Stonehaven development, and one of the reasons was because of the retail stuff. But after listening to the developer, I would like you to take into consideration the safety of the people that live in that community. Bringing a hotel to that area, I'm not really sure how safe that would be, because that's just strangers coming there. And then the data center, not the data center, the warehouses as well. It's just a lot of noise and pollution. So I thought it was going to be a town center. And a town center is someplace where your families can walk in, stroll around, enjoy the sights. But this doesn't sound like it's turning into that. If there's a hotel, a gas station, all these warehouses. So just keep that in mind when you approve it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
I apologize. I was not planning on speaking, so this is what you get.
I have to apologize.
My name is Robin Walker. At the risk of, earning the ire of half the people in the room, I am a new resident in Stonehaven. In fact, we like the community so much that we're moving into a larger home within Stonehaven. And it has met our needs. We lived on the edge of Nokesville and Bristow, and that area just got completely trashed with data centers and storage places and everything. It's very close to the VRE. That's why we moved farther out. I really appreciate what the developer is doing in bringing a lot of sort of modern conveniences. But I've worked with Congress for 25 years. There is a way to come up with a good solution, I believe, that balances the needs of the community and brings in money, right? I mean, the economy's been crap for the last at least 4 years, maybe a little bit longer. We've got to bring that back. I believe, as an aspiring small business owner, you do that by bringing in the local businesses. Right around here in Culpeper, I have been blown away by the local businesses and how much traffic they bring in on a daily basis. Warrenton, same thing. Can we focus on bringing in the people that live here to work in the retail spaces and keep the big guys out? And I'm not a developer, so I don't know the finances involved in that. The data centers, I'm not even going to get into the health impacts of that because I think we've all heard about it. I have a small daughter, very, very concerned about that. And I think my final point is, my concern is that if we're hearing from the developers tonight about the difficulty they're having getting people in these spaces, what I see happening in 2 years or 3 years or 4 years is, well, we've got to rezone and we've got to change this because we've got to make money. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Chris Cave. With the industrial area, there wasn't much talk about it, just that it's not going to be a data center because it has the parking spots and stuff. And most of us have never seen the plans for a data center. But I used to mow a data center, and it looks exactly like that. One way in, one way out. Terramark over here, it looks exactly like that. They got plenty of parking spots. They got over 100 employees. So I think with the gentleman here said have it in writing, it definitely needs to be in writing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Yes.
Hi, my name's Victoria Salyers. My husband and I moved out to South Wales about 2 years ago from Falls Church. And I will be frank, I missed the amenity, like not the amenities, but like, you know, the convenience of some of the shops and things like that. And I will say that with the new neighborhood going in, there is going to be more traffic in Culpeper and Warrenton, both ways regardless. So it's like if we can bring a little bit of something to this area, that would be great, especially the more income on taxes and things like that. But I also will say that I don't think that the design of the buildings and things like that fit the natural environment that we all love being in, because that's also part of the reason we moved out here and to South Wales specifically. And yeah, also obviously hell no to the data center, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name's David Brown. I'm a native of Culpeper. I'm a resident of Culpeper. For many years, I lived in Northern Virginia. I moved out of Fairfax because it was wall-to-wall concrete and asphalt. Moved into Prince William. Well, it caught up with me there, too. 4 years ago, I moved back to Culpeper with the hope of being able to enjoy some trees and green grass and some of the open-air community without feeling like I was encroached upon by industry and business every step of the way. I'm finding out that industry and business is creeping in on our aesthetics. I understand this project was approved back some years ago, but now the developer is coming back and he's wanting more. And they want more and more and more to build more and more commercial, retail, and take away less of our aesthetics. And I just wonder, you know, am I going to have to move to Orange or Louisa or some other place to keep from having all of this kind of stuff come in and take away the beauty and the character of our county that's been very attractive to us? And why do you think people are moving to Rappahannock? Because they want to get away from that. Anyway, that's my question. I hope that this community and this commission will do what they can to put the halt at this. Not the halt, perhaps, but just to slow it down a bit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Gerald Hurst, resident of South Wales. So with all the discussion we've heard today, there's a couple things I'd like to address. Has there been a proposal to bring in more fire, EMT, and police force because of the growth of this area by the city of Culpeper? Because, as it expands out there, and as my wife and I moved from Prince William here 4 years ago to get away from the crime, what this does is bring more crime into that area and affects those houses that are already existing around this area. So has there been any thought of additional EMT, fire, and police coming out?
No, you just make your comments to us. We don't
Okay,
answer those.
I'm just putting it out there that will be a situation we need to address in the future.
Okay.
Thank you.
Makes sense. Yes. Anyone else? Declare the public hearing closed at this time. I think there have been a lot of comments, again, on both sides that have been shared here tonight, and I commend all of you in the way that you have handled yourselves here. I think everybody in here is an adult, and we qualified that tonight, and that's always appreciative, because I'm a native of Culpeper, born and raised here too, and the way you all handle yourself make me proud to be a part of it. One thing about this situation, not a rezoning or whatever, this has already, this is something that's already been approved. The only thing that the applicant was asking, which I think any business person would ask, is an opportunity to make sure that what they are trying to do will, they have the best opportunities to get the most out of what they've invested in. And I think we all understand that, how that works. You all have brought up some good concerns, and those concerns the applicant, I'm sure, would be able to address. I haven't heard anything that he wouldn't be able to address, and accept the fact that the data centers, we definitely would want to have that in writing, that wouldn't come, that would be devastating, to the area. So from what I see, that is something that I would think that the applicant would be willing to assure the neighbors, and being a good neighbor, to assure the neighbors that would not be there. The other lot was not in question, or the other parcel was not part of this application and not being addressed this evening, but that's something that I'm sure is a good idea to check on it and see exactly how it's zoned and what can be put there and those things. But at this particular time, the applicant is not addressing that. I heard in reference to the frontage on 211, and I think the applicant did express that it would be some greenery or whatever that would be, some screening that would be there, and that would be addressed at site plan when that opportunity came. And believe me, that's something that we as a planning commission stress to make sure that as proper screening and all that's there. The other thing that I wanted to mention is I remember when this, I've been here a lot of years, and remember when it was all put together, and there was a lot of excitement about some businesses and all coming to that area, gas stations and, not gas, I put plural on that, but a gas station. But don't want to give anybody any ideas. But anyway, some of these things not having to, one of the reasons when it was approved too, we're saying they wouldn't have to travel to Warrenton and make as many trips in and out of the subdivision, adding to the amount of traffic that was there. So some of these places like, shopping, a place to shop, to pick up a loaf of bread and, and do those things. And when he says Lidl's or Littles or whatever it's called, you know, something like that, I could see, you know, a lot of benefits to the area. Now, traffic-wise, I do understand, but that is VDOT is the agency that handles that, and they're the ones who says yes or no when it comes to the traffic. And I think the applicant has already expressed his willingness to put up his own money in situations to make it as safe as he possibly can, you know, out there too. So I have watched it develop, and I know the South Wales subdivision had been there so long, and I would go out sometimes, and it was a golf place. I don't know if it's still there, but you could go out there and play golf at South Wales and all, and I would want to get a sandwich or something later, get some gas, because you know, drove out there, and you didn't really even have a place. And a lot of the residents at that particular time were even considering, you know, would love to have something like that out there. But this applicant that we have before us, and from a standpoint of the honesty, I've seen a lot of them come through, and it seems like he means what he says, and from an aesthetic standpoint, that it wouldn't be an eyesore, because, you know, the lot is already approved for a certain amount of commercial. Anyway, that was part of the deal, to get the houses and all in there to get the best, to make it best for the surroundings there. So I would think that, you know, asking to be more visible out there, if you do the right thing and put up the screening and all, I think it would, you know, would really, you know, benefit the area itself. The traffic is something that, you know, I understand. I travel that area too, and VDOT, of course, that's something that they have to look at and have to address. So, but with what I have seen before me and what has been expressed, it already has been approved, and we can't go back and change the what has already been approved. The applicant was asking just for the setback to change, and looking at it, it might just even make things even a little bit more safer in the process. But that's just my 2 cents on the situation. But from a standpoint of a data center, we would want to make sure that the applicant would put in writing that that would not happen in that particular area. Now, yes, and that would, we definitely, you know, without a doubt, we already have an overlay area for data centers where they're supposed to go. The county's already expressed that, and that's where we would, as a commission, I know we have expressed that, you know, that area is where, you know, they will be put. So, but we would want to make sure that the residents were at peace with the fact that you know that it's not going to be a data center, you know, in this project that we have here. So I just wanted to share that with you. There were some other concerns that the staff did want to have addressed with this application, and I think that the applicant agreed with, have seen them, and does understand that. So I just share that with you as we, any other comments that need to be made, but from that standpoint, I would approve it with that, those stipulations that we have there, because we definitely want to protect the neighborhood, and I think that, you know, having, if it's a little restaurant or something that they can go to and all, because, you know, going to Warrenton or going to Culpeper or wherever it might be, to have it close to home might just be more beneficial. So, okay, anyone else have anything they'd like to say? Mr. Price?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One concern I've got is how visually disruptive this would be to people traveling down 211, or how out of character this would be to what's already there now and what we expect to see there. I know the developer showed us examples of buildings that he think are very popular, and they're one-story buildings, but they look like they're two-story buildings. And maybe this is a question for staff, but can we influence what the buildings look like? That, either here or at the site plan stage, where if we don't like, if something is too obvious from 211, can we influence the way those buildings are designed?
There is limited authority through the Architecture Review Board that Mr. Sade alluded to. We do have the entrance corridor standards in Article 30. Any site plan for commercial would have to follow those standards. And there are guidelines that suggest those, but largely what he showed you would fit within our guidelines.
Okay. And I would assume if the developer had done this, we would have seen it, but a line of sight analysis of what you would see from 211 looking into the development, how much of that would be obvious? I know there's still some screening, but with the lighting and with the reorientation of the buildings to the road to make them more obvious, it would seem like it might be difficult to make consistent with the dark skies principle as well. So that's one concern I've got is, if you're gonna have that many people living there, you have got to have some commercial to support them. Otherwise, you got everybody having to drive out to go to places. But it should be a lot less obvious maybe now than it appears that it's going to be. That's all I've got, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else?
So I guess the struggle I have is not with, we certainly understand the marketing issue with the retail and commercial, and I certainly would know if I was buying from, let's say, Lennar 3 years ago or whenever I bought the house, and it was based on what was going to be there, essentially, then I've bought into that subdivision and purchased that lot based on what the intended use. So I think, you know, from a retail standpoint or a commercial standpoint, you need to have something there, you know. So I think that needs to be done. I think the other item was the timeline in which we're agreeing to, it's an unknown timeline, right? And so it's based on the market. I think we can put a timeline on it today. Obviously, whether it's 8 years, whether it's 10 years or something, to have a level of commitment that we're really going to hard pursue and show the progress to staff during the lease discussions and things like that to show that that's moving forward. I think one thing that hadn't been mentioned before, because everybody was talking about screening and things like that, it actually goes against moving the buildings. And the reason I say that is because you're going to have screening along the frontage of that property that's going to block the view of the buildings themselves. So you really want the buildings to, not that you necessarily want it, but you want the buildings higher with the signage on the top. And no matter what your setback is, that's going to dictate that unless you don't do the screening along the front. A lot of times retailers don't want screening because they don't want to block their view. So I think that's something that we need to consider. But I think that's where I'm at. I'm not opposed to the change from a retail commercial, but I think we need to put a timeline on it. We need to consider what the screening and the setback really is doing. And then also, as far as TIA, as we get different uses that come in, the Planning Commission would not be reviewing any of that data because it's going to be the by right site plan. So we won't know what impacts that we're essentially approving today to those intersections. That's all I have.
All right, for me to be able to support this, I think there's a couple things. I do believe that we have to do something there. I think that it is a good idea to put some kind of commercial activities there. I think that I would like the applicant to do this within 5 years. I think that we should have him give up any by right to put a data center there in writing. And I believe that there are some additional monetary proffers and that needs to be cleaned up. I'm not sure I like that setback at all. The buildings have to be taller, the signage has to be taller, but I don't see the ability to landscape and screen plus see the building. I think those commercial businesses do need to be seen from the road. So that's how I would look at it from my perspective. Thank you.
Ray?
I guess I'm looking back at, when we approved this, the contractor came forward with proffers. So he said, I promise to do this if you allow me to build. Okay? So now we're at the point that said, you're not gonna fulfill your proffers. So I'm not sure, you know, and we're asking to basically push that down the road again, 5 years or whatever, but what happens in 5 years if it's not met? So I guess I'm looking as, you know, if they didn't, if they had to pay money by a certain point in time, I would think we would do something about that if they didn't pay the money. So is there anything, no, I'm seeing a head shaking. Okay, so if they don't.
Hold on a second. Miss, you all could, I was gonna tell you, you could have went out that door there. But you're almost out now. You're in good shape. Excuse me, sir.
So I guess I'm looking for, what is the enforcement that we have if the proffers aren't met?
They don't keep building houses, is the way it's written now.
I'm sorry?
They don't keep building houses. They don't go to the next phases.
Oh, okay, so they can't
Right.
continue the
Yes, in
development?
phases.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Past 500, but yeah.
Ordered? Yes. Okay.
Okay, so I guess I agree that we've got the houses out there, we approved this development. I think it's necessary to have some commercial out there, so I think that ought to go forward. I'm just a little, not quite sure how to make it happen. I guess it just can't.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I'd like some, just to ask staff clarification. They are removing townhomes or single-family homes?
Not single family.
Not
It
single?
was a small section inside that, what they identified as the village core area.
Okay.
12 units.
So
I
it's,
think.
so we're basically taking the most affordable housing and eliminating that
Yeah.
from that area. Okay, that, I'm not a fan of that. So that would probably be one of my sticking points, is not removing the most affordable housing that's out there in order for me to approve it. But I think, again, it needs to, oh, and the last question for staff, dark sky compliance, does that also apply to signage, or is that just parking lot signs? Parking lot
Article
light.
32 is generate, our current ordinance as written is really just for lighting. It's just not going to focus
Not-
on signs.
not signs,
Part
okay.
of the photo, they do have to do a photometric plan, so it does have to be done by a lighting professional, so.
Okay, all right, because I know we talked earlier, I think roughly 37 businesses with LED signs on the front. That's a lot of light. That's a lot of light coming off 211. So I definitely want that minimized. And I'd also understand that the builder needs to maximize profit, but also not to maximize, I think it would do the neighbors better to get quality versus quantity out there and not put 40 businesses right up, butt up to their neighborhood. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
No, we've already closed the public hearing, sir. There's no other comments now. Okay. All right. Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
are you ready? Do we
Yes.
need further discussion? Okay, then I would like to make a motion. And I'm referring to case number Z-403-24-5. I think that we should pass this on to the Board of Supervisors with conditions. The conditions that I would support.
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna, if I could butt in real quick.
Yes.
This is a rezoning proffer amendment. You cannot you can recommend suggestions to the proffer amendment, and you can recommend suggestions, but you cannot issue conditions or recommend conditions. It's not acceptable.
I withdraw my motion.
Yes. I'm sorry, Vice Chair, I just didn't want you to keep going knowing that, thinking that you could issue conditions of approval. That's
Okay.
just not the way it works
Okay.
for a proffer amendment.
All right, then,
But was it conditions or was it, or what the,
no,
suggestion?
I want it to be in writing.
But we can, from a standpoint of the data centers, that's, if the applicant agrees to do that?
Mr. Chairman,
Said no data.
just as a refresher for the planning commission, with a proffer, it's a voluntary thing that the
Yes.
developer submits, okay?
Yes.
You have the ability to recommend suggestions to the developer
Okay.
to come back to the drawing
Suggest,
board
that's all.
and address their proffer statement.
Gotcha, okay.
The board ultimately can accept or deny,
Yes,
the
the
request
suggestion.
to amend it. But the onus is on the developer to make those changes.
Yes.
So,
Gotcha. Okay. So it's suggestions. So what you were saying is just suggestion.
In light of the fact that it can only be a suggestion, I would like to make a motion on Z-403-24-5 that we send this on with no changes to their, that we deny their requests.
Okay. Been properly moved in second. Any other discussion? Okay. All in favor, raise your right hand. And all opposed? Okay. All right. Okay. We'll forward this to the board with a recommendation of denial. Okay. All right. Okay. Got it.
thank you, Mr.
All
Chairman.
right. Okay. We're gonna need a motion, take just a quick break. Okay, 5-minute recess. Second?
Second.
Okay.
I can read this, Mr. Chairman, if you'd like. Give him a minute. Yeah. It's going to be case U-224824-1. It's a request by the town of Culpeper for a conditional use permit to allow the construction and operation of a reclaimed water system to include an elevated storage tank per section 71A-2-3.8 and in accordance with Article 17, conditional use permits of the zoning ordinance. The property is zoned light industrial and is located at the corner of East Chandler Street, Route 699, and McDevitt Drive, Route 799, in the Stevensburg Magisterial District. It's found on Tax Map 41, Parcel 106F. The Planning Commission will consider, review, and make findings whether the general location, approximate location, character, and extent of the proposed reclaimed water system are substantially in accord with the county's adopted comprehensive plan or part thereof in accordance with the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended, Section 15.2-2232. The Planning Commission is also responsible for making a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors as to its approval or disapproval of the use permit.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, the property that the town is seeking to construct an elevated reclaimed water system, elevated storage tower for reclaimed water system, is located in red there, but it really is a small part of that property. If you recall, this is part of the Culpeper Technology Center campus, Peterson Group, and they're actively working on getting site plans and things in place to build the data center facility. The town would occupy a small part of that property there, about where that blue star is located, or they're seeking to, with this use permit approval, to build an elevated storage tank. Mr. Hively, the town manager, is here tonight to present this request to the Planning Commission. Our county code does require a conditional use permit approval for that. It's also a public utility, which means we do need to find or do a substantial accord finding according to 15.2-2232, the State of Virginia Code. That is substantial accord with the comprehensive plan. I'm not going to read the staff report to you. Hopefully you had a chance to do that, but we did take a minute or two to reiterate several chapters of the comp plan that we believe do support the goals and some of the action items that are in the comp plan. Specifically, Chapter 4, which is our environmental section. This is an environmental win if this moves forward for the town, for the county. This is a reclaimed water system. This is going to be recycled water that today just gets treated. The town does a great job, and it goes right into Mountain Run. This is an opportunity to use some of that water for some industry that we already know is coming and actively moving forward, to move us in the right direction, at least from an environmental standpoint. It will be visible. It's a 205-foot tall tower. It is located, the town did take the time to do a view shed analysis. They feel like this is the best location in the area that would serve the CTZ and be less visible to most properties outside of the CTZ. And Mr. Hovey can stress that as well tonight. Chairman, I'm happy to answer any questions about process. This is a unique use permit. We don't see a lot of this. The last time the town of Culpeper was before us, I believe, was for a separate water storage facility on Route 15 that you see today. They've successfully owned and operate that facility that's helped the southern portion of the town and county. With that, I'm going to close my comments, and Mr. Hovey's here. He's waited long enough, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I'll try not to take another 3 hours tonight for you, but I do appreciate the opportunity to come and talk before you this evening and requesting this approval. Sure. So this is the effluent from our wastewater treatment plant. I'd like to tell people this is the most expensive water in Culpeper County. We take water out of Lake Culpeper as well as wells that we have in our system, treat that, which of course is costly, provide it to our customers. They provide it back quite a bit dirtier than what we provided it to them. We treat it again. Again, it's very costly. And then we treat it to a very high standard. And right now we just dump that back into Mountain Run Lake. So what is a reclaimed water system? Basically, we're just taking that effluent water and we're providing it to an end user customer. In this case, a customer that wants to use it for cooling, which would then reduce power costs for them. And that's the savings for them, is that reduction in power costs. It's very similar to a potable water system. We take that treated effluent, we provide a little bit of additional treatment. We have a pump station that pumps the water through pipes to an elevated tank that provides storage, pressure, and reliability for the system, and then the pipes go on to the end user. So you may ask, why is a reclaimed water system good for Culpeper? It does provide beneficial use for existing wastewater effluent that currently we don't have a use for that. We're just dumping it back into Mountain Run. It reduces the power cost for our power consumption for our end users. It reduces our wastewater discharge to Mountain Run, and by doing that, it also reduces our nutrient and other pollutant loading to Mountain Run, which is a benefit to the environment. And it also preserves Culpeper's nutrient allocation for future use. And what that means is, right now we have a set poundage of nitrogen and phosphorus that we're going to have to live by. We can't use any more than that forever. That's all that we have. By reducing this, that gives us more ability to expand the plant at a future date if we need additional capacity for the entire community, the town and the county. So why don't we have a reclaimed water system? The town and county has actually worked together and looked at various ways to see if we could do a reclaimed water system in the past, but it just wasn't viable. We didn't have customers to use that water, and it was just cost prohibitive. We didn't have just $10 million or so lying around that we could invest in a reclaimed water system and hope that we would have an end customer to use that. So what has changed? Now we have Culpeper Technology Campus. They came and asked if they could use that effluent. We've had others that have asked, but all the others that asked said, you build it and we'll pay for it through rates. We didn't like that deal. That was more risk than we wanted to take. Culpeper Technology Campus, they had a different avenue. They said they'll pay 100% of the cost, permitting, design, construction, and operation once it's operational. So there's really no liability to the town for getting into this reuse system. So because of that, we felt it was worthwhile to enter this deal with them. Not only do we have them as a potential customer, a lot of the other data centers would like to use the water as well. Obviously, since they're paying for it, we'll have them to be the primary customer, whatever's left over, whether it's water that they don't need initially, or whether it's water that becomes available in the future, of course, as our wastewater treatment load increases, then that makes more effluent available for others to use. So we're hoping that this will be a regional system in the long term, and we want to maximize that benefit to our customers. So what are we proposing? We're proposing a 4 million gallon per day pump station at the wastewater treatment plant, some chlorine addition to help keep that water disinfected, a water line from the pump station to the tank, and then from the tank to the end user. We're also anticipating approximately a 30% return coming back from them back to us. That would come through the existing wastewater lines from this user to the wastewater plant. We would treat that again, and it would ultimately be discharged into Mountain Run. And then up to a 2 million gallon tank with a hydraulic grade line elevation of 640. That's the water level in the tank. And that water level in the tank is what provides the pressure for the system. What the tank is for is storage to provide for the peak demand uses of that user when their peaks are higher than the available water that we have at the wastewater plant. It also provides storage to maintain pressure, to provide that pressure to them so we don't have to have an additional pump out at that location. And then storage for reliability. From time to time you have pumps that fail, you have the power that stops working or different things. And the storage provides you time to get those things fixed without affecting the end user. So this shows the site. You can see the wastewater plant up in this location. This is the Peterson campus in this area, and there's another campus here, which is Copper Ridge, which is a different one. And just to expand that a little bit, this shows the system as proposed. You can see, oh wait, sorry, hit the wrong button. In this area, we have the 4 million gallon per day pump station. We have the pipeline that comes over to the proposed tank, and from there, then the line that goes on to the end users. If we had another user that was going to use this water, they could come off of any of the purple line and go to that user. And by having the tank at this location, with the town owning that tank, we would be able to use that capacity not only for Culpeper Technology Campus, but also to the other users if we have those in the future. The wastewater plant is centrally located in the McDivitt Drive Technology Zone, makes it very nice for us to use that wastewater for these data centers because we don't have to pipe it a long distance. And also Culpeper Technology Campus is one of the higher technology or data center campuses that's proposed. So whatever water level we have at that elevation to provide water to them would also provide water to the other data campuses. It would be able to flow by gravity to those others. We looked at two locations on their site, Site A and Site B, for location of the tank. Site A is actually in the town bounds, and Site B is outside of the town bounds. When we looked at that, we looked at 5 different criteria for siting the tank. The view shed impact was obviously very important to us. System operation and maintenance is important. Reliability, hazard and environmental mitigation, and ease of future system expandability. The first one, looking at the view shed, what we found was that Site A is more visible really from all around it in the extremities of town, especially in town and especially east of Route 29 than the Site B is. Site B is more visible in the Technology Zone campus itself, and I can show you that with these maps. This is Site A and the potential for seeing the tank. You can see there in orange, and this is Site B. And it's kind of busy, but if, for example, you focus your eyes on the downtown area, You can see this is A and this is B, so you can see a lot of that orange is disappearing. Same thing with A. If you look east of 29, you can see that's A, and that's, I went the wrong way. That's A, and that's B. So it's slightly reduced there. And throughout the system, you see it a little bit less in Site B than you see in Site A, although it can be seen, you know, in a lot of different areas because it is a tall tank. As far as system operation and maintenance, we also felt that Site B is the best location for the tank from operation and maintenance, primarily because Site A is in the middle of the controlled space of the data center. So we would have to go through their controlled you know, fencing and gates and security to get to the tank to do our operation and maintenance, which we do on a daily basis for the tank. Because of that, Site A, if we would go back to that location, it would most likely be a tank owned by the data center themselves, and that would pretty much eliminate the ability for us to use this as a regional type system, or at least to use that tank as part of a regional system. If another data center were to use it, we would have to put in another tank for them if this tank is owned by somebody else. Whereas Site B is outside of that controlled area, and we could have free access to it like our other tanks. As far as reliability, it's really the same reasons as I had for operation and maintenance, is because of that location. And then hazard and environmental mitigation. The primary thing with this, Site A is a little less desirable because that location is between the transmission line or proposed transmission line and the substation. So a lot of electricity around that tank. Not the worst thing, but also not the best thing. But the primary difference was Site B will gravity flow back to the wastewater treatment plant. So anytime you have a tank, you have an overflow in case for some reason a pump doesn't turn off and water flows and overfills the tank, the water has to go somewhere. We want to make sure that flows back to the wastewater treatment plant. So Site B, it'll flow by gravity through pipes back to the wastewater treatment plant. Site A, it won't flow by gravity, so it would end up on the ground if it was at that location. And then ease of future expandability, I talked about that a little bit, and that has to do with who owns the tank. And if we own the tank, it makes it so it's available in the future for anybody to use that, any future customer to use that tank. So because of that, we chose Site B as the preferred location, and that brought us here today. This shows the site for that tank as proposed. You can see the triangle right here. That's the piece of property that we would propose for the town to own, and Peterson would turn that over to the town, and we would own the tank. And then we have they have an entrance here off of East Chandler Street that comes to basically maintain their stormwater pond, and we would just want to extend that over to the tank. So it's fairly easy for that, all outside of their fenced-in area, so it would make it easy for us to have access to that tank for maintenance. As far as the details of the tank, it's a 2 million gallon tank is what we proposed, or we're proposing a maximum 2 million gallons tank. And the reason why I say maximum is because right now we're working with DEQ to determine how much effluent that we can actually divert from Mountain Run. They're doing computer models. They have about 6 weeks left, they're telling us, to complete those computer models. But based on our application and what we believe the results will be, it would be a 2 million gallon tank. And we may even build it to that level even if we don't have the capacity right away, just because we only want to do it once. And Culpeper Technology Campus has been very generous in saying that they would like it to meet the ultimate needs, and they understand the need to build it once instead of building it twice. So what's proposed is 195 feet from the ground to the overflow. That's typically how us water people look at tanks, but an overall height of approximately 205 feet, or actually less than 205 feet. The tank diameter is 92.5 feet. 45-foot bowl height, and then the shaft is 52 feet in diameter. So this is a tank that would be fairly similar to that tank. The actual shaft is made out of concrete, and the part that holds the water is the steel tank that sits on top of that concrete composite. This one shows a logo on the tank. The town is not proposing a logo to be on that tank. Quite frankly, we don't see this tank having the visibility as like the Route 15 tank. It's just not arranged to where you'll see it, going down 29 unless you're looking like this, or any of those other major roads. If for some reason the Board of Supervisors or the county would like a logo on it, we'd be happy to, have the contractor pay for that. This is an engineering drawing of the tank. It shows the dimensions that's in your packet. It also shows a lot of piping and whatnot. All of that piping is internal to the tank. The shaft is actually hollow, so any of our above-ground valving and things of that nature will actually be inside of that tank, so you won't see it from the outside. As far as comparing this tank to the other tanks in the town, just to kind of give you a general idea of what is this tank going to look like. Again, it's 195 feet to the overflow. And in these, I talk about overflow because I don't know what the exact outside height of the other tanks are, because it isn't something that we normally deal with. We deal with the hydraulics, which is that inside, but they're all relative. So 195 feet to the overflow, which puts it at a 640 feet above sea level for the proposed tank. Comparing that to the existing leg tank in town, it's 179 feet to the overflow, so slightly less height in elevation, and the hydraulic grade line is about 20 feet lower. So this tank would be about, on a relative terms, when you're compared to sea level, about 20 feet higher than that tank. Comparing it to the last tank, the one that was recently built out on 15, the high pressure zone tank, it's a shorter tank. It's 159 feet to the overflow, but it's 50 feet taller above sea level. And because of that, you actually see that tank a lot more when you do the comparison study than the proposed tank will be. But still, either one of them, you're going to see it, although as with the 15 tank, if you ask somebody like in my neighborhood over in Wood Lakes, can you see that tank? Most people would say, no, you can't see it. But if you're somebody like me and you look for tanks, you can see it because we paint it, sky blue. It doesn't really stick out like a lot of other things. And you may see it between buildings or between trees here and there, but it's not in your face, and it's also quite a bit smaller. In closing, we think it's in substantial accord with the comprehensive plan. We think it's within the identified future growth area, within the urban services boundary, proposed for industrial use within the future land use plan. We think it's within the adopted technology zone. We think it's surrounded by industrial uses, the proximity to existing water services, and we think it'll help avoid the strain on the county and town water system. And again, lastly, we think it provides a beneficial use for our existing wastewater effluent, allows our end user to reduce their power consumption, which is good for the environment, reduce that wastewater discharge to Mountain Run, which reduces that nutrient allocation that's going into Mountain Run, and then preserves the nutrient allocation for the future of the community. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, Ms. Thornhill?
Okay, I'm going to start. So county customers can also use this, county businesses, if you have the capacity?
Yes, so, we're building to the maximum of what wastewater effluent that we have available. Obviously, Culpeper Technology Zone will get the first stab at using that wastewater, since they're paying for it. I think they'll be using the majority of it. We're still trying to determine exactly what they'll be using.
2 million gallons a day? The
About
tech center uses?
1.5 million is what they've
What do
actually
they do with it
projected.
at the tech center, C-Tech Center?
It's a data center. So what they use it for is cooling.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, so it's used for cooling. So instead of, when you have an air conditioner at your house, and you use air to transmit the heat gets taken up by the air and is blown out. When you use water, it's more efficient. You use that water, the water evaporates, and that provides the cooling. So all but about 30% of it evaporates. The rest of it will be returned back to the wastewater treatment plant. And by doing that, that improves the efficiency of their cooling. It saves them power, and it allows us to have a beneficial
Sorry,
use.
I was confused. I thought the school, which is called what? CTEC?
CTEC. No, this is called
So this
Culpeper
is not the
Technology.
school that's paying for it.
No, this is the data center.
This is the data center, also called CTEC.
No,
CTC. The
CTC.
acronyms are killing me here.
Yeah.
All right.
So
only that-
there
only-
are other data centers that would like to use whatever we have available.
Right.
If we have additional wastewater available. There are other data centers that would like to use that capacity as well,
But
because it's a cost savings to
the
them.
ones paying for it might use it all.
It's
$1.5 million,
possible.
yeah. So then
It's
how
very
about
possible. They
all-
may use especially what we have initially, but as the community grows, more wastewater is generated, and as more wastewater is generated, then that makes more water that can be available for, to be sold to these other data centers in the
All
future.
right, so they pay for it, so then you get the revenue from the town. The town gets the revenue, or you split that with the county?
We get the revenue goes to our enterprise fund, which is the wastewater system, which right now the wastewater system, per settlement agreement with the county,
Yeah.
provides wastewater to the town and to the county. The county has 1.5 million gallons per day of allocation from that wastewater plant.
All right, so how many other data centers are nearby there? Isn't it 2 or 3?
Well, I guess there's probably 8. Is there?
Yeah,
6 or 8?
There's 8 campuses altogether, yeah.
Yeah, so there isn't enough for everybody to
Right.
use.
Or they could, so suppose they want to build one on their property, next to them.
They don't have the effluent to.
They don't have the water.
Okay,
It's
so only-
it's all about what's available.
So these people jumped on it first, so they get first dibs, and they're willing to pay.
Yeah, that's correct.
So
We had other data, over the years, we've had other requests, but none of them would agree to pay for it. They all said, you spend the money, you build it, and trust us, we'll pay you back in the rates over the next 10, 20 years. And
So I've
neither the
seen-
town nor the county was willing to take that deal.
I see. Okay, I understand now. All right, so I see a lot of the water towers, et cetera, they have either 911 or cell tower equipment on it. Can any equipment be attached to it since the height is so, or do we have that need in the county?
Sure, it could. When the high-pressure zone tank was put in, it was actually a request by the Board of Supervisors not to put any antennas on that tank, other than the one we have to communicate for ourselves
Why would
at
that be?
that time.
That doesn't make sense. Well, we all need cell service.
I don't know.
Okay.
But yes, they can. They're
can.
great places to put cell towers. We have cell service on the leg tank, the older tank in town.
Yeah.
And we make revenue off of that helps support and reduce our water costs.
All right, since the CTC is going to own it, you're not putting their name on it though, right?
No, they're not going to own it. We're proposing
Oh,
at Site B
pay for
that we would own it.
Okay,
So
there's
it would
no
be,
name.
it would be completely owned by the town and operated by the town. And I don't have any need to put a logo on it, but, if the
Okay.
Board of Supervisors wants to put one on it, that'd be great. But, and we'll have the data center pay for it. But if the board doesn't want it on it, it's not being pushed by the town to put a
Thank
logo on it.
I'm done.
Anyone else?
So, a couple questions. What about fall protection strategy? What kind of protection is there going to be for facility itself.
Oh, for the tank?
Yeah.
To keep the
Mhm.
tank from falling down?
Yeah, because most of the time with the tanks, you know, you have to worry, it's not the tank that's falling, it's the water in the tank. And so what's downgrading of it is, you know, it's almost like a inundation zone that you map with a pond, if a pond was to breach or something like
Yeah.
that. So has that been evaluated at?
Well, what's down gradient of it is is a data center or a proposed future data center building and our wastewater plant. So it would, assuming the tank would fail, and I've never seen a tank fail, but assuming it did fail and dump, it would actually end up in we have a 6 million gallon lagoon at the wastewater plant where when we have very high rains and we get inundated at the wastewater plant, that's where that flow goes until we can
That
treat it.
wouldn't flood a structure?
That's where it would end up because that's down gradient of it. But
Okay.
all of that said, you know, these tanks are built, you know, with seismic and everything else and, you know, with it. And because of the weight of that water, they're very structurally sound tanks. Prior to coming to Culpeper, I was in the Charleston, South Carolina area. And of course, you have hurricanes in that area. And I had a boat, and whenever the hurricanes would come, I took it straight to that tank and put it in rolled up the doors and put it in there and closed it, and then I didn't have to worry about that tank anymore, that boat anymore, because everything
sometimes
else
I've
might
seen, like,
disappear, like when Hugo came, but not that tank. It was still there.
Yeah, sometimes I've seen like emergency action plans and things like that, you know, if a, small plane hit it, you know, you gotta
Sure.
plan for those kind of things, you know?
Sure. And
And
this
then also
particular
with
one that's-
sandblasting or maintenance of the facility itself, you'd have to do personnel training, based on, you know, if something was to happen, and they have exit strategies and all those kind of things. There's actually a whole program for that. I just didn't know
Actually, for
any of that.
when the tank would be painted, the bottom, the nice thing about a composite tank, I really like composite tanks, because the concrete bottom, you don't really have maintenance associated with that. So you're just painting the bowl, and there's specialty contractors that do that. For example, when I went from the county to the town, one of the first things I did was paint all of the tanks in town, and we painted even the leg tank there that has businesses and things all around it. We had that painted, and didn't have any issues with that. They have special procedures that they use and paints that they use. And the good thing with the coatings that they currently have, they're 20, 30-year coatings that they have now that they didn't have in the past.
I got you. Yeah, and I guess the other thing would be regarding maintenance of the facility itself, and also all the water lines associated with that. You're going to own that facility, or you're going to own and maintain those lines?
The town will, yes.
So the data center that is getting the structure built, in the agreement, you didn't make them part of the capital maintenance of the fees associated with the operating costs for the facility?
It's just like our water or wastewater systems. So the part that we would own the pump station, everything on our wastewater plant site, excuse me, the pipe to the tank and the tank itself. Then once the water leaves the tank, we would own it for about 5 feet from the edge of the tank. And then the rest of that pipe would be theirs to maintain, especially once it goes on their controlled site. Then we would charge them for that, or we will charge them for that effluent when they take the effluent. And part of that charge, when we develop the fees associate that, it'll cover all of the costs of operation and maintenance.
Utility tax,
and,
enterprise fund.
Yeah, and the future costs of painting and all of that type of stuff. And then when the portion of the wastewater that they return, that goes into the wastewater system, and they get charged that as well. So they get charged coming and going.
Okay. That's all I need to know.
Okay. Yes.
Can that water be used for fire suppression in those facilities?
Probably could, but I don't think it would be used for that in those systems. It is an effluent, so it's not meant to come in human contact. So I don't think it would be used as far as as part of the fire suppression. I think that would just be a connection to our potable water system like we do with all the other businesses. But, it's a good question. It will put out a fire just as good as potable water will.
No, I mean, that's just been one of the concerns with these data centers, period, is fire suppression, and if they're gonna use water, and we don't ever really get a straight answer out of it, so, where those, computers and stuff set that people necessarily aren't, like, just trying to think of a way to reduce the possibility of the impact on the actual water supply, where something like this, like I said, on the computers, it wouldn't matter.
But it definitely doesn't hurt to have the water up in the air. I mean, obviously, we wouldn't have a connection between that and our potable water system. But, excuse me, but it would be water up in the air, so the fire department would be able to, hook up lines to it fairly easily if it got to where there wasn't enough in the potable water system. But, because it is 2 million gallons of water up in the air that would be available. But it's a good idea for us to at least make sure we kind of plan for that as a contingency plan, although, I think it would be something pretty catastrophic to where we would use that versus the water from the potable water system. Thank you very much.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah, Doug.
So they're paying for the entire system, the pump station,
Did you finish?
not just the tap?
They're paying for it all.
Oh, sorry, great.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, they're paying for everything.
That's fantastic.
Including the preliminary design. I mean, everything that we're doing. When we first started, everything that we were doing was, conceptual, and they've paid for all of that.
That's great, okay.
Yeah, pretty good deal.
Mr. Chairman, go ahead, Ray.
Couple questions. The effluent that you process today, you don't have to do anything else to make it cleaner so they can use it?
The only thing we're required to do is add chlorine to it. We don't add the way we disinfect the water right now is we use UV light before it goes back into Mountain Run. So there is a requirement with reused water that it has to have a chlorine residual associated with it. So we would add chlorine.
Okay, so the effluent that just
Which
goes
is
back
very
into the lake, you don't add the chlorine to that?
Yeah,
Okay.
which is very similar to our drinking water. We're required to maintain a chlorine residual in that as well. And what that will do is as it goes through their system, it'll prevent algae growth within their
Okay.
system.
And you mentioned it, so it's not a closed system. They're losing 70% of the water in evaporation, and the 30% comes back to you.
That's correct.
Okay. The tower's 205 feet. We worried about lights on that now? Do we have to put a light on it?
No, it's actually, that's questionable. The code says if it's above 200 feet, it'll require to have a light. So when we get into the final design, we'll see is it above 200 feet or not. I think we may have added 5 feet to what we're presenting to you just to make sure we're okay. We don't want to get to the final design and we tell you it's 200 feet and it's 201 feet and we have to come back.
Right, okay. From what I remember, looking at different data centers that have come through us anyway, everybody I ever we talked to said they were not going to use water to cool. They were going to use air cooling. So why now, where is this coming from?
We've had quite a few of them that have asked about water cooling. A lot of them, the first ask is, can they use potable water? And we just flat out say no. The county says no because, we have a very limited amount of drinking water. Using water for cooling, it definitely saves them money because it reduces that power cost for them. So if they have an opportunity to use it, they can do it. There's also some end users that their preference is to go to where they can use water cooling from an environmental standpoint, because then they can say that they're using less power and they're being more efficient. Only if it's like reuse water. If it's potable water, then that's, that's frowned upon. So, I believe this Peterson, the client that they're working with, has a preference for using this if they can, just because it meets their objectives
Okay.
for being environmentally friendly.
And you said the effluent that we produce is only enough basically to supply one of the one data center is paying for this.
One and maybe some more buildings, and we're still trying to determine exactly what that need is going to be from them, and it gets into the weeds of what their peaks are and when they use it. Okay. So we'll probably provide the water just to this one, see how it works, and then decide, after it actually comes into operation, and then see what we have available to provide to others later. Because the last thing we want to do is commit to more than we actually have.
Okay, so we talked about this may help drought situations and so forth, but, and I don't know, when we do go through a drought period, does that reduce the effluent we produce, and is that gonna, are we always gonna have enough effluent to fill this tank?
Yes, and actually last year was our, believe it or not, last year was our drought of record it was worse than the 1930 drought and several other droughts. I actually did an analysis of our lake system and, reevaluated our safe yield of our water systems based on that. But because of that, we were also able to see what the minimums were at the wastewater plant, and we were able to use that, and I created a model associated with that, and then had our consultant verify it, and that kind of drove what we felt we had available. And of course, now it's going, and DEQ is running their models associated with it as well.
Okay. I think it's a great idea to use the effluent, and we got one single user. I guess the only thing I get a little concerned about is I don't want this to come across as, well, data centers, let's come to Culpeper because they'll provide us with water. You heard the response here just in the last meeting we had about data center concerns. That's my only concern on this whole thing, is that it becomes a business whereby we're pumping water to data centers, and data centers keep coming here.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to attract any more, because I think we have.
What's that?
There's no more water there.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, this one isn't going to attract any more, because we have
I just want to make sure that
more
doesn't become a
demand than
business.
what we have available. I will say that as well has been a concern of mine, that that maybe one of these data centers, they get they get rezoned. They say they're not going to use water, and then all of a sudden they turn and say, well, we want to use the county 1.5 million gallons of the county's capacity. And we actually made some changes to our ordinances in town to prevent them from doing that, to where we have the final say, and they can't, one of them couldn't get nasty and try to force us to either, do a moratorium on all the town or give them the water. So we have added some language to fix that, because the last thing we want is for one data center to steal the future of our entire community.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, if I could. Everybody else brought up some great points, and I just want to reiterate, we were sold that these places didn't use water. They were going to put glycol. That's every person that sat up, and I'm not killing the messenger, but I'm just shocked that this is for a data center. And to reiterate what Mr. Ziegler said, I want to make sure that every time they build a new data center, we're not promising a new water tower to go with it.
On the last subject, that's why I would like to do it at Site B, so that it is a regional tank. And part of the reason why the tank is a 2 million gallon tank, from an engineering standpoint, the first look at it's like, well, that's an awful big tank for providing 1.5 million gallons to the end user. But part of the reason is because of the limited amount of effluent we have at the wastewater plant, and that's cyclical. You know, it goes up and down throughout the day, which makes that tank bigger to be able to maximize the use out of it. Long story short, as our wastewater increases in the future, the tank doesn't have to increase for us to be able to provide wastewater to others. And I don't know if that really makes sense, but from a modeling standpoint, it does make sense with that. The Culpeper Technology Campus, you know, they have options either way. They could do it with air cooling like the others, or this was just an option that they had. You know, obviously it saves them money if they can do that. It gives them an advantage. But from our standpoint, it allows us to reuse, you know, that effluent that right now we're just dumping it in Mountain Run. And we actually do believe it'll allow us to increase our ability to make the plant larger in the future if we so need it in the future. So we try to preserve that nutrient allocation as best we can, because that's all our community's going to have, and once we're done with it, it's done.
Two final questions, and they're real quick. So Kingsbrook Road, that neighborhood's going to be right next to there. Have they been notified, is that HOA or whatever they are, been notified that there's going to be a potential 200-foot tall water tower right outside their neighborhood? Have we made it public notice?
Yeah, not yet with the tank. They were notified during the you know, the rezoning for the data center, and especially with the Culpeper, with the Copper Ridge one. If I go back to the drawings though, actually, let's see if I can get back there.
And then while you're doing that, I'm going to ask, and this is for staff, are we mandated to notify that Kingsbrook neighborhood? No? Interesting.
So actually, if you look here, it's actually not as visible as you would think it is to that neighborhood.
Okay. And
just
my
because
final,
of the way the ground is.
Okay. And my final question: any imminent domain to run the pipeline?
No, that's not proposed. We're actually, there's only one property owner that I'm actually dealing with directly, and he's all for it, and we're working it all out.
I appreciate that.
Been known each other for quite a while, so.
Yes.
One last question, and that is, we're gonna have this backup for this tank here, but they're not gonna have backup for potable water in case there's an accident on the tank or something like that, are they? You know, I don't think we should allow that. In case something happens to the tank, do they build their system such that the primary source of coolant is the tank, but if something goes wrong with the tank or your pumps go bad, do they have potable water that's gonna take its place?
No,
Okay.
no, we're not gonna allow that. Yep.
That's a definite
And actually,
no.
we haven't worked out the contract yet with them for the, you know, the provision of that service, but we'll make sure that we protect the town when we do that, you know, we'll provide it as best we can. But, you know, just like when we provide water and wastewater service now, if a pipe breaks and it's shut down, it's, you know, we do our best to get it back operational, but, you know, we can't pay the, you know, the business losses that may be associated with that. And obviously, we would never agree to do that for a data center, because I imagine that would be a fairly big check that they would want us to cut. Okay. And we wouldn't do that.
But you're gonna get that in writing in your contract with them?
Oh, yes, we'll do a service contract just like
Yeah.
we do with, you know, with our current water customers and wastewater customers.
Well, they're so sensitive to if, you know, some disaster happens, then the generators have to kick in and everything has to have a backup. So what happens if their coolant can't cool the equipment in that building? That's all I'm saying. If they come to you and you definitely say no.
Yeah, no, we've actually had those discussions with them, and their equipment will actually operate without the water just not as efficiently without the water. So they can continue to operate even if the water is not being provided.
Okay. We thank you very much, okay? And
Thank you.
we'll get back to what this application is in reference to you and the tank, and we getting that approved, so.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, let's see. Now, we do have a public hearing on this. I declare the public hearing open. Anyone here to speak on the application? Harrison, that you? Declare the public hearing closed. Okay. Some of the questions and all too is good, you know, we learning about it, but at the same time, you know, this request that the town has is being able to build this. And when it comes to the other data centers that were using air and not using the water, that's because they couldn't get water. So in these locations where they was putting them, that was the option that they had. So this group is making a good decision. They just jumping out ahead of it. That's what they're doing. So, any other discussion? Any other questions? If not, Chair entertain a motion.
I move that case U-2248-24-1 is in substantial accordance with the county's adopted comprehensive plan. Do you want it as two separate motions?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed likewise. Okay, second motion.
I move that case U-2248-24-1 be forwarded to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation of approval for the conditional use permit.
Okay. Probably moving second. Any other discussion? Being none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed likewise. Okay. We will forward it to the Board of Supervisors' recommendation of approval. Thank you. All right, now we are moving to our work session. We need a motion to move into the work session.
So moved.
Second? Second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
We in our work session. Okay.